Mention what? Mention what?
Whatever you do, don't mention it.
Don't mention it.
Because we're on live, so don't mention
But who played for it
Don't
though?
mention it.
No, but who played for it?
Yorkshire.
Yeah, for what?
Well, the fixture list was on there.
Lads.
Oh, but we're not talking about
We're on. You do know that, don't
Yeah,
you?
we're just having a discussion.
Is that bell too loud? No, that bell is just right. As soon as our last one got stolen.
I've seen
I've seen it. I know where it is.
Hold on,
We need to alert the authorities.
we don't like Leeds now, we've got a spy in the camp, nicking all our quality gear, have we?
Possibly. Good evening, welcome along. It is 4020 Live as ever. Richard Shawright is here, pressing all the wrong buttons in all the wrong orders. Phil Kaplan is here. 4020 magazine is out. He's been busy as the boy. It looks impressive. Good thickness as well. What would you say about your publication, Phil? It don't get any thinner when the off season's on. Just an observation. Good evening,
odds on the back from the competition.
We'll have a chat about them in a while. As well, the legend is here, and he's brought a mate with him today. Some would say the nearest he's got to a friend, but we will move on about that. If you want to get in touch at 4020 Live on Twitter, you can get in touch via YouTube, get in touch on the Facebook page as well. What do you want to talk about? The Yorkshire Cup semi-finals. I'm hoping for a full house at Batley.
The what?
The Yorkshire Cup.
K2.
Oh, the K2, whatever. Yeah, sorry.
So cold, Yorkshire Cup.
I'm hoping for a full house at Batley on Sunday, just to cost Aaron Barrow about 17,000 quid in beer. But, you know, and it is worth noting actually, I've got a lot more followers since that tweet went out. So every time I get a new follower, it costs him £3.50 or whatever it is for a pint at Batley. But
come on, fill out the Fox's Biscuit Stadium.
Seriously,
people.
Get down there, support it. Yeah.
I'll tell you what as well, Mo, like you mentioned the Yorkshire Cup, I've got a massive well done to us at Parkside, and I know Featherstone only played maybe some trialists and not some of their first team players, but as I mentioned last week and the week before, if there wasn't right at it, then the amateur players, and certainly the big fella again, his first game back after the bar, I told Jamie Field, was absolutely outstanding. He was the star of the show. And you know what, mate, as well, the great thing for us at Parkside is, I saw the secretary today and just to congratulate him and whatever, and I said, if you don't mind me asking, I said, you get a couple of quid out of this? Obviously we've been in amateur, we said, Scott, you know what, we're absolutely delighted. We're getting £1,000 a game. I tell you what, that is great news for an amateur club from there, because I'm led to believe there's no players in the coaching staff get paid at Parkside from there, mate. So the 3 games they will play, the reputation's even better. And I say well done to the Unsick Parkside lads. I think they've been a credit to the amateur game.
And to Rochdale Mayfield.
Okay.
Who, at very short notice, staged their game with Rochdale. It was switched from the original venue of the professional club. The community club mucked in, staged the game. Very competitive, 18-12 final score to the pros. So well done, community clubs.
Yeah, well done to them.
We're big fans.
A lot's been made of what's going on. We're gonna get stuck into the rugby, I think, this week and have a look. We've got the odds on the back of the 4020 magazine. We'll have a chat about what we think is going to happen in this season. Yorkshire Cup semi-finals, 2 keenly fought games. Call it the Yorkshire Cup, blah blah, whatever. The Bulls beating Dewsbury narrowly. Took a penalty goal late on to win that one, and Batley and York involved in a bit of a thriller as well. Scott, you've been moaning about the Yorkshire Cup should have been brought back a long time ago. Do you think we'll see it whereby, you see, the one worry I've got is if these guys are going to commit to playing in like the plate, etc., in the future, who are the likes of Cass and Leeds going to play? And Cass are playing Leeds next weekend.
They are.
Wakey played Hull this weekend. Could that have not been their first round of said cup? I don't know. I just think, are they all going to get involved? Do you think? Is it on its way back?
Well, I'd like to think so. I think I've been saying it for the last 4 or 5 years now. And I say the teams throughout the pre-season, you know, they are looking to have at least 4 games before the season starts, whether the Super League club or First Division club from there, or even a Championship club as well. You know, so I think the fans want purpose fixtures, and want something to play for, meaningful games, and I'm sure if, you know, Hull and Wakefield played yesterday, and you know, for the 2 last testimony, and well done to Kermo and Washburn for the services they've given to the 2 clubs. But if there was more of a purpose in that from a point of view where there's silverware to be won, I reckon the fixture could have been. I reckon not just the fixture would have been more attended by the fans. I think it would have doubled, because there's a trophy to win at the end of the game.
It's the extra weeks you've got to build in if everybody's in it. So at the moment, the clubs that are in play, 3 games over 3 weekends, and they'll choose the level of side they want to put out depending on what their pre-season training schedule says. So, you know, Featherstone may well have made a choice this week to play more trialists to see how they're going to get on, because they were playing a community club and it came back and bit them. It's not going to do any great harm to Featherstone over the season. It's a day in the sun for Parkside, but the problem is the more teams you get in, the more weeks you need, and we haven't got that. You know, we're talking hopefully tonight about what the season's going to look like, because it's only about 2.5 weeks till the season kicks off. You wouldn't want to be starting the Yorkshire Cup on Boxing Day, I wouldn't have thought, but there is some merit to saying, for example, Doncaster played Leeds yesterday. That could have been billed as a Yorkshire Cup time.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, but also as well, though, Phil, why not start on Boxing Day?
Because we just play too much rugby.
No, but Phil, but more teams do play a fixture game on Boxing Day, so why not make it purposeful game?
If you work back, if everybody was involved, you'd probably have to start the cup before the previous season had finished. But the fact that again, you'll analyse the crowds as to whether it was commercially worthwhile. There is a sponsor underwriting some of the costs, which is great. But you'll need to get feedback, I think, from the coaches and the players as to how worthwhile it was as part of their preparation. I think
But is it because it's been done off the cuff without being rude? It's been done very short term.
Yeah.
I think they will improve and they'll build on that the next time. That's what I'm saying about, you know, teams are going to want friendlies, but if, you know, like the Bulls, we said last week, they had 2 games at the weekend. Now that's unfair on the fans. Which game were you supposed to, which was the priority?
More than that, it's unfair on Michael Lawrence.
Well, that's what I mean.
You know,
so if you're then lining up a fixture, you go, well, we're not going to play you because you might not be here. And that's what I mean. Do they need to be grown up? You say, right, well, I'll tell you what, we'll come and play in that. I don't know, I'm just trying to think of it.
Part of it is how you sell it to the fans, because there are certain teams that would play their academy and fringe players in those games. So do you have to have a cost structure that replicates the fact that you may not be seeing the first team? So there are lots of things to build into it.
Is that not? It's like, you know, Scully said, if Leeds want to take a bunch of kids somewhere and that use it and that's their cup game, if they get beat, then that's their lookout. You know, they'll use it as their see fit, won't they?
Yeah, and maybe you could bring in the midweek element to make sure that all the fixtures are completed within a certain time frame.
Like the original.
Like the original Yorkshire Cup, which was semi-finals were always a midweek.
People have missed the point spectacularly on what I've been saying mainly over the past few weeks. And I don't know if that's because they can't read, or they just have no common sense, or they just want to choose to be idiotic for their own reasons.
Or get a column out of it.
Get a column out of it. Or a few more Twitter followers, I don't know. Or give more praise on their own clubs. By the way, that tweet to you yesterday saying yawn.
I don't think that was aimed at me though, was it?
I don't know, but still.
I asked where the final was, and then one of our listeners, I think, started chirping in and having a go at the clubs involved, and one of the clubs responded and went, yawn. I'm like, well, that's it. I genuinely want to know where the final is. I'm asking a serious question. And they never had the courtesy to reply.
But what, you know, we've been doing this programme in various guises. I think we're starting our 5th year now. And almost as many names.
It might catch on.
It might do. You know, we've been here, there and everywhere. And one thing that's been consistent is Scully coming on and saying, bring back the Yorkshire Cup, bring back the Lancashire Cup as pre-season competitions. But do it properly, not in the haphazard way it's been done this year. That's all we've been saying. And don't claim something you don't know.
A potential alternative is if you call it the whatever cup, not the Yorkshire Cup, it has to have something else in there to distinguish it from the original Yorkshire Cup, then do you have to have the same teams playing in it every year? Could you have, let's say, 8 or 12 teams a year, and they could change?
I think you open it up, Phil. If those clubs went, right, we're going to send an email now, we're inviting every club in Yorkshire to be in it, and if Casco, no, we don't want to be in it, or Fev say, we're not bothered next year, we're not going to play.
Which you could have done with any cup competition. You know, some teams are not allowed to play in cup competition.
If they do that, but you've invited everyone in, I think then it becomes the Yorkshire Cup. But you've got to invite everyone in. That's my only issue with it.
Would you use the original trophy?
Yeah, I would. If everyone's invited in.
Do you know what that is?
There's a trophy. No, we don't know. I've never seen it before.
Is it at the home of a Super League club?
They didn't win it last.
No.
In their cabinet?
They didn't win it last. Possibly.
That club doesn't exist anyway, because
Move on. But yeah, I think I enjoyed it. I hope there is a big crowd there on Sunday to
Why not?
benefit the teams that have won their way through to the final. Whatever pre-season comp, blah blah. They're starting 2 weeks. This is meaningful.
And I think you're right
now.
that you look at a lot of the friendly fixtures that have happened from Boxing Day to now. and those games could have been incorporated into something
Yeah.
label. Again, the Wetherby Whaler Yorkshire Cup tie, Leeds and Wakefield. It could be done.
Some kind of merit competition.
But
So,
that's
yeah,
what I mean.
it's
You could
okay.
almost say, right, you can class that. You can
Yeah.
class that as your game. Wakey Hill yesterday, so there's 2 games there that would have already been played anyway.
Yeah, you have to decide if you get beaten. Does that take you out of the Yorkshire Cup?
Well, this
or
is what I.
do
Well,
you-
this
do
is
you
what
have-
I mean.
Do you have 3 games?
There's no comedy
that
goal
are in-
kicking there.
Well, this is what I mean about they have to sort out the friendlies. So
Mm-hmm.
is it agreed that if Team A, B and C go out in the first
Mm-hmm.
round, they'll have a home fixture against whoever? I think you've got. There are ways to do it. Let's
Yeah,
be fair,
yeah,
there are
yeah.
ways to do it. But we've got to have a look. And I wonder if the teams on the other side of the hill might start having a look at it and thinking, why don't we have a go at something like
Well,
that?
again, Workington and Whitehaven played yesterday. Good win for Leon's.
Yeah.
Workington's bring the Arc Southern Cup back. Would their pre-season perhaps include the best community team in Cumbria and Barrow and call it the, the
Why not?
I don't know, the Cumbria Cup or?
Greg's upset. Yorkshire FM Live, he says. Hey, we're not on FM.
Yeah.
It's just the internet.
Yeah.
You know, don't listen.
What do you want to talk about,
That's
Greg?
all, Greg.
What do you want to talk? I'm going to talk anyway about our rugby league now has to, in my opinion, I've mentioned this before, the way ahead for the RFL is to go down the NFL route, because anyone that's watched the NFL in the last 2 weeks, it has been unbelievable. It has been absolutely unbelievable. And the more I look at how the season works, and for those that don't know, what there are 8 divisions of 4 teams. The winner of every division goes through to the playoffs, plus the next best 4, 2 from each side. What it does, it means there's something on every game every week. Every game every week. And I think we need to look at that, because I don't...
But there are other things, like it's a salary cap sport.
Yeah.
So every year there is an equalisation of the field before the season starts. So if your team was rubbish last year, you know that you're starting at the same level as every other team.
Yeah.
I think there's also scarcity of fixture. That there are teams that you play within your division where you get the rivalries, but you might play teams in the playoffs that it's the first time you've ever played them. And the grand final is always 2 teams that haven't met each other that season, aren't they? Because they're in different, or they may have come across each other once.
Yeah, they can meet each other
but they're in
once,
different conferences, so the likelihood
Yeah.
is they're not going to meet for the 6th time that season.
Yeah, but what I mean is, there are teams that, in our competition, our structure, would never qualify for the playoffs. So under the NFL model, can qualify for an end of season game.
How many games do they play in the NFL?
16.
Well, Mark, it's not going to work because
No, but that's the model. Obviously, you can play more games than that.
Right,
For a start, we're not going to have 32 teams. They've got 32 teams.
Right,
we don't have
right,
that many.
right.
So it's just a way that I just look at it, and ultimately, the elite teams get to the last 4. The last 4 in the NFL are the best 4 teams in it.
Yeah.
So whatever the structure, the best teams should get through, and they do. But I just look at it, and it just... We were talking last night when the game was on. The intensity of the sport is unbelievable, and that's what we need. We need that in our game.
Yeah, but Mark, as well, as you mentioned from there, we just mentioned with the Yorkshire Cup, all the fixtures have got a purpose. They all mean something. Does that make sense? You know, and you look at the
Not
crowd,
every minute matters, surely.
but you look at the attendances of the crowd. You look at the sponsors what we're
Scarcity, yeah.
make an event, because one of the big added things is quite simple, because they're going to be seeing quality and the purposeful games. I'm reading Darryl Powell's piece today in the League Express, and they've learnt from the last 2 years. The training's changed a little bit. They've thought about it a little bit more. They're going to be mentally tougher, but it's not going to be the start of the season. It's going to be again the business end. So again, it's just telling you where at times I think, all right, I need to pick the best side. What I need to go. We need to know maybe from end of June to July when we need to be picking up the pressure up, because this is when the business end is. This is when press is all on. So now, this is where we need to be, where we want to be from there. So week in and week out, they don't be playing the best team every week, are they? And do you not see that in the NFL?
No, not
Well,
at all.
well,
the
there
only
we
time
go.
you'll see that is the week before the playoffs.
Well, there we go.
If they're in the playoffs and they'll leave a few out, that's the only time.
They have wild card games as well, which gives a team that still a chance to be involved in the season, even if their regular season hasn't been as good as it can be. I think the other thing they do is they leave a week between the semi-finals and the Super Bowl.
Super Bowl, yeah.
Well, again, what publicity would we get if we built in a week to build up the grand final?
Yeah, I just think it's something I really do think they need to look at. People say it's contrived, right? But I watch the NFL religiously, right? And it is. I just think there's a gap. The season ends start of February when our season kicks off, our season really should end when their season starts in September
Yeah,
or
I'm all for
October.
that.
And you almost should be to the NFL. Oh, there's no NFL next week, but the Rugby League, you might as well watch the Rugby League because it's the same thing. I just think the game's suited for it. I really do, and I think it's a way to take it forward. It's like we said last week. Robert Elson to me needs to be looking at teams like New York. We can all whatever. If they're real, then we need to be looking at them. Are they going to be in? How's our game going to look in 3 years? Because if it just looks the same as it looks now, then it's a dying duck, isn't it? It's not getting anywhere. We want more teams to be able to get into the playoffs, etc.
We want different
And that ain't
names
gonna
to win
happen.
the trophy.
Yeah, but that ain't going to happen. at the
Yeah, but
minute.
also as well, fellas, and we spoke about it many times, you know, where the players going to come from, where the quality players going to come from to make it a quality competition week in and week out. Where we're going to get them from?
It's interesting. A good friend of the show, Dave Allen, was around this weekend, and I'm
All right.
interested in what's happened in darts, and particularly interested at the moment in what's happening in netball, because I think there are two sports that we can look at, and so they seem to have had a plan, and it's coming to fruition. And the darts thing is not just about the final at Alexandra Palace. It's not just about the Premier League. It's how they've got to that. They didn't sit down and start with it. They built up to it. So there are three things that they've done by talking to Dave. One is they addressed participation. So it's they who have put in the junior tour and the development tour to bring through more stars, because they realised that they had a fantastic generation of people like Phil Taylor. But what happens when they reach retirement age? So they put in an amount of money which at the time was purely speculative to set up a development tour. And through that have come people like Michael Smith, who is going to be the next generation superstar. I think that was what they then put in an elite threshold, because if you had enough money originally, you could go on the darts tour. You could pay to be on the tour.
Yeah.
So I could pay to go on a darts tour. My first tournament would be against Phil Taylor in the first round, and I'd be getting 12 if I was lucky. And everybody would be going, what the hell are we watching here? So they needed to put in a quality threshold that said, if you're coming on our school, you have to have qualified to be in it. And then they built events. So they moved from the first round of, I think the Premier League was in places like Wolverhampton and Cannock, and now they're in major arenas in big cities. And that hasn't happened overnight. That is a real plan that somebody put in. I think the netball's really interesting at the moment, that there's a lot of coverage, both written and on visual, with the England netball team at the moment, because they had success in the Commonwealth Games. They're now in a quad series where apparently they're playing Australia, New Zealand and South Africa. I ended up watching the last 5 minutes of that last night. And I'm thinking, this is an arena in Liverpool that is absolutely jam-packed with a multicultural audience, mainly kids, cheering, getting really excited. I don't know any of the players. I don't really know the rudiments of the sport, but I get that at one end you score a basket and the other you try and defend it.
Yeah.
And you get caught up with it because it's England. Now, the background to that is that the Vitality Super League has promoted England, but they're trading on the back of England. Well, you've got two models there that, if we're serious, Rugby League should be taking the best of those.
Yeah. I think it's the way forward. I think it's something we need to have a look at. People saw another restructuring debate. We're not looking now. We're looking further down the line about how this sport is going to look. Where do you want it to be? Where's it going to be played? How many people are going to be playing it, etc. Some people, Toby says, you don't want to reward mediocrity. But what you have in the NFL is at the start of the year, every team genuinely thinks they can win the competition.
Absolutely.
You look at our sport. Let's be fair.
Well,
Four of them have got no chance of winning it.
the last new name on the Super League trophy was 2004.
That's what I mean. So
And we're entering the 2019
we need to have a
season.
look at that. And that, someone will say it's contrived. You're contriving it to make it meaningful. But I think once you grasp it and you work it all out and you map it all out, I think, it's like, for instance, they have little divisions, and in that division you've got to come top of your 14 division or you can't get in the playoffs. You imagine Wakey playing Cass and the winner goes has got upper hand in the playoffs. There's going to be something on that game. Same if it's Wigan Saints or whatever. And what it does do is it means that you should get different finalists each time. That's how I look at it. Anyway, I might be living in an ideal world, but you've got to look at what you're going to do.
Well, the ideal world can't be any worse than one win at the minute.
I just want to know what Robert. I've been spending a lot of time this week thinking, what is Robert Elson thinking? You know, we saw last week the
And he's
article
got
in the
big plans,
paper.
apparently.
Want to go to Barcelona?
Absolutely.
Well, what is the merit of that? We're going to have a team in Spain. If we are, great. Let's get on with it. Let's tell us what the plan is, and we'll do it. But
I was
if it's just to
thinking
try and make you look good,
Well, I was thinking about this as well. This time last year, we were preparing for Wigan and Hull to go to Australia. What has been the benefit for the sport of that? What was the reasoning
apparently, I mean, I've
behind
been told, and people at Wigan who constantly tell us when we've got
I'm
it
sure
wrong.
they've covered
I
the
don't,
costs
even, I
of
don't
it.
even think they raised the money they thought they were going to get. So I think when you look at the bigger picture, it probably was a disaster.
1989, Wigan played Warrington in Milwaukee. That was going to be the game that triggered rugby league being loved by everyone in the States. And again, we still haven't quite got to that point. So we do one-offs. We spoke about Gateshead when John Davison was here last week. You know, one season. Well, imagine what that market in Newcastle would have been like if we hadn't just done it for one season. They finished sixth that year. Well, one win out away from the playoffs. You look at who played for them. It was a great team. They were sacrificed on the altar of Hull, who, let's be honest, would have survived and come back in another guise anyway, because rugby league is so strong in the city of Hull. But we sacrificed Gateshead in '99. Imagine now we're talking about hoping that Newcastle have a good year and their backer wants to see a return and they might get out of League One. What if already we'd had a team in Super League from the North East that now had about 15, 16 years behind it? Whatever it is, and I'm sure there is a plan, whatever it is, it doesn't start tomorrow. It's the plan for 5 years'
Well,
time.
what do you say about London? Look at the kids playing now. Where were they 20 years ago when London, you know, and that's what it is with Newcastle, isn't it? We want a team full of Geordies playing in Super League, but we've just had the one good thing that they had and we've taken it off them. Why have we taken it off them? I want an answer about that. Why has that been taken off them? People asking questions, looking about how the fixtures would work. Look, that's not for now. That's probably, if you know how the NFL works, you'll appreciate how it works. People say, well, you just get working cast playing each other all the time if you're in a 14 division. It doesn't work like that. They play each other twice a season. That's how it works. But the results in your own division are more important than the others. But I probably lost some people that aren't necessarily, you know.
But also as well,
just the way of looking at it.
Yeah, but also what you covered it with there, and also too from Phil mentioning, you know, from playing in big cities. And well, didn't we have this when the great maestro himself was in charge in Morris, and with his fame in the future, and when Super League came in and all this new Sky deal and the way the summer rugby was going to be, and you know, we all know what happened with Paris Saint-Germain, but he wanted to be played in Barcelona, he wanted to be played in Italy, he wanted to play in Holland, this sort of thing. But again, how are we going to get the sponsorship, and how are we going to get the numbers to be playing in these big cities? You know, that's my big question.
Because I think if you don't say it's going to happen tomorrow and you only do it for a year, if you say in 5 years' time, this is what we think Super League is going to look like, this is what we're aiming to be, I think you do get investors.
Right, so what I'm saying is here now, Robert Elson is a very good friend of Mr. Lindsay. Is he not trying to mirror what Morris wanted to achieve way back in 1996?
Yeah, I don't think we've heard everything that Rob Elson wants to achieve. I think we've seen some cosmetic type changes to the rules for this year. I think there will be further changes down the line, but it's all got to lead to a television deal in 2021 because that's going to determine the landscape after it and what you can do. And I think you're right to mention Paris. You know, that there was some genuine excitement when Super League kicked off that the first game was in the capital of France against a team that was recognisable to the rest of the country in Sheffield.
After what they achieved at Wembley.
Yeah.
City,
but we haven't got that.
City club as well, as Morris wanted it.
As
Morris wanted it. He wanted it played in cities rather than, you know, we all know about the mergers he was looking for, which absolutely fell on its backside. But what I'm saying is Elson trying to mirror what Morris wanted to achieve.
I think if you look at it,
and is that achievable?
I think it's achievable if you can sell your plan to broadcasters and potential investors.
Right.
I think if the season's going to look the same every year, then that's difficult.
Right.
So I was looking at, you know, obviously one of the highlights we can't wait for during the season is Catalan playing Wigan in Barcelona. I think for the sport, you know, you put up your wall chart, things to look out for this year, stick a pin in that day, because if you can't get there, it's going to be on telly. I want to watch that. That's an event. That's what we're talking about. I think they'll break the crowd record. Now, the crowd record is 25,004, but the crowd record in Super League for that game was set in 2005. That's 14 years ago we had our biggest crowd. You know, we for people that say, oh, you know, can't relentlessly go on about you need to do something. We do need to do something because we are not at the point.
Well, my hope, to be honest, Phil, is they do smash the record,
Absolutely.
and then that encourages Leeds to go. We're going to beat that. We're going to go to Ellen Road and we're going to get 40,000, and that's what it needs. It almost needs. We're bigger than you, blah blah. However you're going to do it, but get people.
It might
along.
even need Milan to say Barcelona had a big event. You know, we're quite into our rugby in Italy. Could we have a Super League game? And we establish the principle that there will be a game that goes on the road to promote the sport, and we give everybody a year's notice as to who the teams are, the different teams every year. It's a regular season fixture that is, you know, make sure nobody loses money on it, but a broadcaster would be interested in that. A potential television deal could hinge on things like that.
Yeah, but have we not said this before? We said it about Wakey because their crowds at the time weren't great, Rich, but as we said, if you said Michael Carter, right, we're taking the home game off against Catalans, we're going to give you 100 grand for it, or whatever that figure, that magical number is, we're going to give it you. We'll give it Catalan and we give it you, but we're taking that game and we're going, and you're going to play wherever we say. The fans will. I'm sorry, if the fans
but the Wigan and Hull fans didn't they? Because when they went to Australia this time last year, they were saving up to go at this time last year. They really looked forward to it. Both club sets of supporters bought into that.
Yeah.
There were 4,000 or 5,000 from each club that said, look, we may only ever do this once, but we have to follow our team in a location like that. So if you did go to Qatar, let's say, bearing in mind that they're looking for sporting events to build up to the Football World Cup, if that's the ethical sort of place you wanted to go to, and you could guarantee both sides that they wouldn't lose money, they might gain money, or let's say Dubai, because it might be slightly more ethical place and they like sport. But fans had a year to save up to go and see a game in the National Stadium in Dubai. They might do that. The clubs may not lose any. But if you're only ever going to do it once, there's no point doing it. If you're going to do it every year, it's maybe different teams every year, I reckon you then go into a broadcast and say, we've mapped out a couple of things that we can do, easy wins to start with. We're going to go to X, Y and Z. You'll remember the Charity Shield. Went to Dublin. Yeah. Didn't stop people going just because we hadn't played a game in Dublin before. It was a great way to start a season that the cup winners. In fact, why not designate the game every year to be the cup winners against the champions?
Yeah.
That's the game that you win that game. Part of what you get is £100,000 guaranteed to take a game on the road. So and even have it as a charity shield. Let a charity benefit from it.
Yeah.
Why not? Where is the charity shield? Do we know where that is?
Don't know.
Who was the last one, is that? Was it Wigan?
Wigan won everything.
Was it Wigan?
Was it Wigan Leeds? I think was the last one. Was it?
No, I think Widnes played in.
Yeah, Widnes
one of the last ones.
Yeah, Widnes went far off with it.
Go through the old social media.
Yeah, people I think are getting confused with the fact that we're talking about American sports schedules and what's the word I'm looking for? Formats.
Yeah.
And think we're talking about cracking America. We ain't going to crack America, but now there's rugby union and they keep trying, don't they, with taking games over there. Talking about taking the best of ideas from other people and adapting them to our own ends and perhaps making a better sport for ourselves. But look, of course we're not going to be bigger than basketball or whatever in America.
Look at cricket, right? What's cricket? Cricket was the county championship. Then we got one day cricket, and now we've got T20. You go to any county in this country, and where do they make their money? Yorkshire make hundreds of thousands, probably £1 million out of the T20 competition. No one watches them playing the thing. But what does that money do? It keeps them going. Yeah, if you turn around tomorrow and we're back, no one's allowed to play T20, it's been outlawed, cricket would go bust. It'd go bust. So we've got to come up with something like that. And if that's us going, like wherever it is, Milan, whatever, or you're playing double or whatever, I don't know. Have a look and see.
All I'm saying is take one game a year, which ideally is the champions against the Challenge Cup winners, assuming they're different teams, and say that when you get to Wembley and the final whistle goes, one of the things you've got is an away trip the following year. When the final whistle goes at Old Trafford, middle of October, one of the things you can celebrate is the fact that yes, you'll be in the World Club Challenge, which hopefully will again become enshrined in our fixtures, because I think that's really valuable. But you'll also get an away trip the following year. Well, why not? And then go to your commercial partners and say, not only will we have a market where Super League currently is, we're going to try and break 2 or 3 new markets. And I think there are investors out there. How did we find people like Dr. Kukash? And we can say that there are
He was
issues.
Nigel's mate.
Yeah. Well,
Don't want to
We
break.
need
it was
more.
Nigel's
We
mate.
need
Well,
more.
it
We need
was
more
on the
Dr.
flat.
Kukash's.
but you introduce people to the sport by taking the sport to different areas. How did David Argyle get involved in rugby league? He didn't go out looking for rugby league. He had to come across rugby league. We have to put it in front of more people, and it could well be that commercial partners would come on board because they can see the fact that, I'll use an example. The European Championship, as was once sponsored by Alitalia. Now that's a big name. It's a recognisable brand. Alitalia were based in Italy. The teams playing in the European Cup at the time were Scotland, Wales, Ireland and France. And Alitalia didn't fly into 3 of those nations. But they saw the value of being involved in an international sport. Now, that's because they were getting events in those nations and their name across in those nations. We could do that, but you don't sit there and wait for it to happen. You've got to decide what your strategy is to go out there and make it happen.
And of course, the Charity Shield or whatever, as Toby's been pointing out on social media, is one of those fixtures you can take somewhere else. Maybe tour it around, as he says, why have the same, or Nicholas asked earlier, why have the same things in the same place every year? The Super Bowl is playing in a different city every year. But why not have the Charity Shield as one of these fixtures? Because we keep saying we need more events. As we keep saying about our nearest and dearest code with the 2 extra big fat blokes on the pitch. They have these big events at big stadiums that they sell tickets to really cheap, that they get lots of people to turn up at. And even if they never turn up again, it gets big interest on the telly. And we do nothing, because we keep doing nothing. Wigan won the last Charity Shield, because it's on Wikipedia. 45-20 against Leeds at the Royal Showground in Dublin. Though apparently, Widnes did have the trophy, according to Alan on Facebook.
I think it might have been played after that in the Isle of Man. I could be wrong.
Yeah, Anthony says it was the Charity Shield went missing from the old Norton Park. It was a fantastic trophy, a bronze cast scrum down. It was first played for in the Isle of Man, because I've got one of the programmes somewhere, Wigan beat Hull KR, and the big entertainment on the Isle of Man that week was Tony Christian Cabaret. Hello to all the people on Facebook who can't see me. I can't change the camera now, so tough.
Yeah.
Are you the disembodied voice?
Yeah, I'm going to change it. I'm going to move YouTube though, because we've finished talking about something.
Alright, okay, fair enough. Keep your tweets coming in at 4020 Live. You can get in touch on Facebook and on YouTube as well.
I think there is integrity in wanting to promote more events without disrupting the fixture list.
Well, what happens with the NFL? They come to London 3 or 4 times a year. So why don't we take 3 games to Dublin? If we really want to break into Ireland...
Start with 1.
Well,
but I think
point.
the other thing is that if you're saying that the game that's always going to be on the road, for want of a better phrase, is the Charity Shield between 2 teams that won trophies the year before, I think you've got something really marketable there as well. So if you are going to Edinburgh City Council, or you are going to, I don't know, back to Barcelona because you don't want to do an event just once, you're actually giving them the best game you can give them at the time that you give it to them. The 2 best. It doesn't matter that halfway through the next year they might not be playing at that level.
Yeah.
What you can sell is the fact that you will get the 2 best teams at the end of the previous season.
No, I agree with that.
Take it to let nations bid for it.
I think I'm more on YouTube now, so that'll please all the fans. Stop talking about the NFL, says Mick. They're dealing billions, rugby deals in pennies. Yeah, but we might be dealing pounds one day.
But we're talking
possibly.
formats. We're not comparing the 2 sports in terms of their the ability to attract corporate partners.
I'll tell you what though, fellas, we've been talking about this for half an hour now, and we can't even get a sponsor for the biggest competition, World Rugby League and the Challenge Cup, and again, the game just totally lacks marketing and promotion. If we don't tell people that we've got a product out there, how are we going to get in these cities?
But then
also
one of the things that was a real success last year, which came from the teams at the bottom as much, if not more, than the teams at the top, was the ability to make a big noise about a fixture. So York did it brilliantly, and I like Coventry and the fixture that they've got coming up with Leeds. Last year got a record crowd before it was then beaten during the regular season. They've got a lot of things lined up for the game on Friday which go beyond whatever the result is on the field. They know that they've got a team coming down that they can market to the public of the West Midlands, to the, more importantly perhaps even, to the local council, to the sponsors that they want to attract. It's a big event. You know, Kevin Sinfield will be going down to represent Leeds. He'll be interviewed before the game. You know, that's a name that people will recognise. And I think, you know, perhaps we also need to take a leaf out of the clubs in the lower end who are showing it. Workington are another one that I think have got that idea of social media, how they promote.
Yeah.
So if you've got all of that lined up, we can be something.
Alan says the World Club Challenge. Why not take that on the road? It used to be. Saints played
I can never
Bolton,
understand. I
didn't
can
they?
never understand, especially with all the travel concepts, how between us and the NRL they've not said right. We'll play in Singapore. There must be the amount of money in countries like that, Dubai, for them to go. Oh, yeah, here's £1 million. Just bring them here. What is it? What is it again? Who's coming? We're not bothered. But there'll only be 200 here, but they'll all be like billionaires watching on
Like
the
you see the cricket, yeah.
Yeah, well, no, but that's what the money's there.
But it's
just
like,
go take the money.
There's another one. It's like what you were saying. The NFL season finishes what? Beginning of February.
Yeah, I think it's a bit. Yeah, it's the first weekend.
And what's it's already over there?
So the
Yeah.
third weekend of February, take the World Club Challenge to somewhere like California, which is almost equidistant between Australia and here. Play it there. And before people go, you can't do that. There was a fourth state of origin game played in 1987 at Long Beach in California to promote the sport. They got a really good crowd. Leeds had played in Jacksonville, got a really good crowd. I think if you do it straight after the Super Bowl has finished, you've got people there who are going, right, what can we watch now that our favoured sports? Oh, let's watch
that was my
our sport
point.
without the pads.
Well, that was my point about the NFL season and us following on from it. Sky,
Now,
I
that
think
game does.
Sky must have a huge following on the NFL, otherwise they have it on all the time. They must have a huge following.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to tap into that.
Well, and if you got Fox to film that World Club Challenge, that's always going to be in or around the southern states of America, then there's no real great production cost for our host broadcaster.
Yeah.
But you're getting more people involved in the sport over there who perhaps could be corporate partners. So,
Do you know what as well? After last week's programme, we talked about having a think tank. I think you two guys should be.
No, it's all of us.
No.
No, we're the thick tank.
No, you two guys should be on part of Robert Elston's team and come up with these ideas, because one question what I would like to say is, you know, to the people at the RFL and also to Mr. Elson and his team, are they having discussions like this already? Are they talking about this already?
They may be. And I think if we've got,
do you honestly believe that?
If we've got, I think if you've got to give Robert Elston his professional credibility, I think there are things on. But there've got to be. If there are, I'd be like devastated. They brought this guy in. He's got all the contacts. But that's why the one thing we know he hasn't done yet is speak to New York City. Now, whether they're in or not, they're credible or not, they've got the money or not. And it's my understanding they have got letters of intent from companies that Super League should be killing themselves to get into bed.
I agree.
Airlines should be saying, right, we want them. What do we have to do? Right, we're going, we're coming, we'll play a game there. Yeah. But are we doing that? And that was a question I raised last week. Is that happening? I don't think it is.
Well, the point I said, again, we kick off 2 weeks. Promoting marketing for it. What is it?
Here's
it's scarce.
We know we're going to Barcelona in the middle of this year for, let's call it the Charity Shield, even though it hasn't been branded like that. Let's now brand it as the Charity Shield from now on, and let's say in 2020 it's going to be in New York. The potential New York franchise. It's going to be May, June time, whenever. We'll structure the fixtures around it, but let's announce that now, and then at least New York and their partners vested interest around one event. So let's have the hotel chains coming in saying, yeah, the two teams that are coming over, they can stay in our hotel chain. The airline that's behind the bids, right, we'll fly the teams over for nothing. Why not? Let's do it now.
Well, Kevin said, forget America, concentrate on Europe. All right, well, that's fine. Same thing applies.
But what I'm saying is, if there are potential investors in New York now,
yes,
let's give them a game next year now.
Yeah.
Let's not do everything either on the hoof or do it once and then not do it again.
You know, everyone keeps telling me the video is going to be great this year, the Super League launch video.
Where is it?
Well, this is the problem, Scotty. This is what I'm going to say.
Which will kick off 2 weeks on Thursday. Where is it?
I know what will happen is we'll go to the launch. Is it next week?
24th.
Right, and they'll play it there. We'll go
a week before the season.
Right, on ITV all weekend. You can't escape it. Rugby's greatest championship. It's alive. Rugby's greatest championship. Rugby's greatest championship. People tackling each other. Sometimes even scoring tries. No drop goals or last minute penalties or whatever. Or Nigel Owens being the star of the show because he's the only person people know reviewing these days. Rugby's greatest championship. Rugby's greatest championship. Rugby's greatest championship. Where's our video? Now, and when people say,
where is our video going to be shown?
I know people keep saying, you know, the Six Nations, blah blah blah, and people, I don't understand. I understand, but I don't understand this whole groundswell. Let's do a petition to get Ralph Rimmer out, because petitions are pointless. You gotta have a reason for, you know, it's descending too much into personal attacks on people rather than professionalism. And people saying, oh, the Six Nations is getting this, this, and this. I'm not saying we should have the same Six Nations. I'm not stupid. But where's our video? Where is the video? We're two, you know, as you said, we're 2 weeks away.
More than that, where is the video going to go? Because if it's going to go on the host broadcaster, and if it's going to go maybe on the Super League show, is that enough? Do we need it on big screens in all the city centres that have big screens?
There's one in my city. God, it plugs things all the time.
Got everything. Wait.
Oh, yeah.
Everything. Did you put that brick down?
Got a stadium.
You put that
No.
brick
He forgot his office.
What's the programme?
He filmed himself going to the stadium and forgot to put the brick in
Put the
his
brick
back.
down.
No.
What are you doing?
I know. Can't do enough.
Car's not even there this
I
week.
know.
You could have gone down and planted it down.
That's why it all went wrong, you said. Glenn says, the RFL and Super League depend on shows like you to market the sport, so they don't have to.
That's why they're knackered.
That's
why they're knackered.
Because we're speaking to the people who know. You know Rugby League's on sometimes. What time it kicks off and what channel it's on. We don't need to know. We need to tell other people. Yeah. But we can't do that when, you know, TV programmes on at 12 o'clock at night after a repeat of, you know, something from 30 years ago or something.
Yeah. Well,
I think the video will be good. I think the guy who they've got to do it. There was an interview in one of the trades today. Our good friend Ross Eppenstall did. With Lee Hickin, who's been taken on as the Super League creative director, who was producing this video, and one of the lines in it, which I think is absolutely right, is that let's celebrate the North. It doesn't have to be where you stay, but let's celebrate what it stands for. And I think, you know, that might be quite a refreshing attitude. I think we'll see a player-driven one.
As long as it's not the old stereotype.
No, I don't think it's going to be Hovis.
No.
But I think the idea of a northern powerhouse, whatever that means, the word powerhouse is the one that you want to focus on.
Might be the only northern powerhouse that actually works. Where's the trains?
Will London be happy at that?
Well, if 80% of your sport is played in the north, then you can reference that. It's not the only thing you should say, absolutely not. And Catalan won't be happy with that.
Oh, are we Super League Europe?
I don't know if we are anymore.
Aren't we Super League Europe?
Well, Catalan are in, aren't
Well, we've been Super League Europe since 1996, haven't we? And so now we're promoting it as
we're
going to promote it as a northern game.
No, we're not going to promote it as a northern game. We're going to acknowledge the qualities of being northern. In the same way as my very good friend and learned colleague, Mr. Tony Hammond, used the analogy, which I think is absolutely brilliant. Country and Western music is culturally specific to an area. But that doesn't stop you liking country and Western music wherever you are in the world. But you understand what it is because of where it comes from. But you wouldn't just do a video if you were trying to promote country and Western about Nashville. You would say, this is Nashville, this is where it started, but everybody loves it.
I'll tell you what, next, Phil, you'll be suggesting us four start doing line dancing, won't you?
Yeah. If we run another
check shirt.
You want us line dancing next, eh?
Even one that's all be in the video. I don't know. Well, hopefully the people are paying 20 grand a year to be in. You know, Johnny Lomax, Mike Meekin. Who else are we paying?
That is what is happening to those 20 grand a year, those 25 grand a year payments?
I mean, people who...
Do we know?
The first thing is you've got to say who's got them. Because if you're promoting them as the superstars, you've got to say these are our superstars.
Well,
this is why they've got extra money.
At the end of the day,
we're allowed to sign marquee players and not even say who they are.
At the end of the day, that money would be far better going to Rugby League development officers around the country and around cities. Simple as that.
I think part of the argument was keeping the stars in the sport. So it was an additional payment on top of whatever. But
well, it depends if they're...
One of the things
they're not already wanted by Rugby Union in our health.
But one of the things we should be excited about is the quality of recruitment for Super League this year. I think, you know, clubs are having media days now, and you're looking at some of the footage that's coming up. We previewed in the magazine, as you do, and get hung, drawn and quartered by the incomers and what influence they're going to have on. There's a lot to write about and focus on this year. Because there are some real big names coming in, and it's the first time for a while that there are more coming in than are going out, and they're coming in of a quality where people looking around going, He's a decent player, and I'm sort of quite envious that team might have him, or he's going to do a real good job for. Why is Blake Austin the favourite to win Man of Steel?
Yeah.
Stephen, our friend Stephen from Wakefield, who
Yes.
still hasn't got a photo for you, Stephen. We will do.
How
one
are you?
day.
Hopefully,
We will get you a photo. one day.
hopefully improving.
He was asking Tom Johnston, top try scorer, because he has to go because he knows about
Yeah.
it. We don't.
Scored. Did you get 3 yesterday?
Yeah. Could have had 4, but Bill
Tom
Thompson
Johnson.
doesn't read it.
What could he finish top try scorer?
Well, I don't know if you saw the video that Rich did with him on 4020.
No, I didn't
It
see
was
it.
available,
No.
but he was basically. What did you
Well,
say? You interviewed him. What did he say?
I was going to move on to this and say he's not one of the ambassadors for the sport. He's a well-mannered young man who speaks well, talks a lot of sense actually for someone so young. And I know I'm biased, he plays with my team, so I don't care. He does speak well, and he does come across well. What are we doing with him? Nothing.
Yeah, that was. He's gone away this year. Thought when Bennett says you're not ready, and I think he's giving him a kick up the backside. Instead of sulking, he's gone, right, I'm going to come back, I'm going to be better, I'm going to be big, I'm going to do whatever, I'm going to show you at the end of the season. So he's got a player with a point to prove, who, missing games last year, still scored loads of tries. He's going to be up there, isn't he, again?
Oh, without a doubt. And I say when you look at the Wakefield side with the addition of Danny Bruff, because I reckon Bruff is the final piece of the jigsaw, and the Jacob Muller with the creativity he's playing outside Tupou again. He was outstanding again last season. He was outstanding again this year, by all accounts. He'll certainly get the chances. And the great thing with Tom Johnson is he's not just a winger who can score tries with the kicks, high balls. Tom Johnson, he can go 90, he can go 80, he can go 70, he can go whatever distance you require, as we've seen over many years. But what the kid has got, as you mentioned there, he's got the attitude, but also as well, he plays with a smile on his face. What I like, and that's what I like to see. Give him opportunities. You wouldn't rule this kid out being the top try scorer.
I think Josh Charnley might be up there as well.
Charlie will be up there. Yeah,
So I mean,
Charlie
what he's learned by coming back to the sport, the fact that Warrington have, obviously seen that he is there. If I'm Blake Austin, I'm saying to Josh Charnley, I'll make you the top try scorer.
Where's Mamo going to play at Warrington?
Centre.
He'll score some tries. If they can keep him on the field, he'll score plenty of tries.
I think he might play loose forward. Do you know why?
Really?
Because of his support play. I think he might play loose forward because the kid's got a bit of person. I think there'll be a cover for him as forwards.
He's made a balsa wood, Gary. The best one in the world. He's made a balsa wood. You're not going to play him in the forwards, are they?
He's
dead.
The interesting thing is,
Jake, if you watch him, great player, Jake, but don't put him in the forwards. We've spoke to Steve Price. He's not daft.
What about Ryan Atkins? Presumably, is he taking a step back to bring Maymo in?
I would have thought so. He didn't get picked in the. I know he'd been injured, but he didn't get in the big games.
Because it's his testimonial this week. Yeah. And we wish we looked at every player that's done 10 years in this sport.
Ryan Atkins is still a better player, a better centre than man, though.
What about Toby King?
Utility, isn't it? For me, I don't think he's quick enough.
No, I don't know. He's a good player. I like him.
He once got in the Sunday paper for positive reasons.
Who's that?
Ryan Atkins. Took Chanel from Big Brother on a date to Toby Carver. It was in the Sunday Mirror or something years ago.
We need more of that.
Dean says, have we discussed Ranky joining Castle? We'll speak about that just after 7 when Brian Barwick's been with the tea. Anything else you want to discuss? Interesting point here from Ian. He said, look, Super League is branding itself as Northern. So it has to fall into stereotypes because that's how we see the North. This might be unfair, but Super League can't change the stereotypes. So it's only going to perpetuate them. Well, I've got a question.
No,
Hold on, I've got a question. Does Rugby Union describe itself as Southern? Because there's only Newcastle and Sale anywhere near the north that play. And don't give me that crap about Carnegie. No one's interested.
Carnegie.
No one's interested. No one's interested.
You're only saying that because we play it anyway.
No, I'm saying that because I get 2,000 fans, mate. That's why I'm saying it.
Probably more
it's a
people.
fact. No one's interested.
I don't think we're promoting.
2,000 people.
If they were playing over there in this room, we won't watch them. We can go downstairs.
I'll tell you what, I've been to a couple of games, a couple of years ago, honestly. Well, I coached Rugby for 2 years, and as I say, it's talking about watching paint dry. And
well, that's my point. Yeah, but so why are we Northern? Why are we Northern when they're Southern? When they're not Southern?
No, I don't think we're perpetuating a stereotype. I think we're pointing out that there are some. I mean, the fact is, you cannot deny the fact that the bulk of the sport is northern based, and that the World Cup has got the funding that it's got on agreeing to have 80% of its games in the north of England. I think what Lee Hickin is hitting upon is the fact that let's celebrate why the North is important to the sport. It's not the only thing. What the front and centre will be the athletes, but I don't think there's an issue with saying we're born out of the North.
We can't query that until we've seen what he's done, can we?
No, but I think the fact that he said that in this interview.
Yeah, but I think when we see it, we might go,
yeah.
that's amazing. I can't believe he's done that.
There are positive.
Or we might go, what the hell?
There are positive stereotypes.
He's not going to be showing. He's not going to be showing our roadworks on M62 where we've got to go and watch the games on the Friday night.
Wigan.
We're going to
On a Thursday,
on a
Friday
Friday.
night.
As I've said on this programme and again in various guides over the past few years, the problem is not the positive stereotypes of the North, because they're all, you know, the positive aspects of our sport, aren't they, where it came from and the people who played it in the past.
What if it's more
it's
about
the whole
quality of the people that come from the North?
The problem is the stereotypes we perpetuate as a rugby league media in certain sectors is thick people who drink lots of beer and act like idiots. And
With Eddie wearing commentating in the winter.
And the players like that as well, don't they?
But you can have a positive spin on what makes Northerners the people they are that this sport has grown out of. It doesn't have to be solely about that, but it can be a positive reinforcement of that image. Gaelic football don't say, big in Wales. Play to your strengths.
When we start our Gaelic football podcast, jump on the bandwagon. That'll be the next big thing. We'll get Brian Carney on.
Well, he does it, doesn't he?
Yeah,
He do it on the
he's
telly.
there on the telly. Come get Sabutio Gaelic football. Let's get some football goals behind the Normans.
One of our media colleagues messaged in earlier.
Yeah, that's all this.
I know, he said, look, I heard you last week, guys, mentioning you'd rather see full page in newspapers with players rather than Elston.
Yeah.
Because obviously we saw Elston in the paper last week. We've seen an article, is it in the Observer, with Zach Hardacre today? It's a brave article to do for me, with Zach Hardacre. He's brought disgrace on the sport, he's brought disgrace on himself. We've heard him say sorry before, and it didn't seem, in all fairness, like he meant it. He's obviously taking the issue a lot more seriously. He's been a sporting chance. He speaks again about needing to turn himself around. Should we be championing people like Zach Hardacre? Would we rather see him being great on the field again before we hear from him again? I don't know. Do you
know what's disappointing me with all this Zach situation? Excuse me, I've not seen the Observer, but I've seen in the League Express today is that for all his misdemeanours, he's blaming the clubs. And even Wigan have said, well, he may not have got the right advice, or he may not have got the help of other clubs. Well, I can reassure you, Leeds gave him 3 opportunities.
Yeah.
Castleford gave him. How many opportunities did Castleford give him? So I'm not buying into that one little bit. No way, mate. That's the massive disappointment for me from there. He's not taking any blame on it himself. Yeah, all right.
All right.
But
I agree with what
he's not taking any onus on himself. How old is he now?
Well,
how old
27 is he?
Well, if you haven't got a pair of crystals at 27, don't be blaming other people.
Not about he's not to do with that, is it? The point is, you're saying Leeds giving chances. Did Leeds cause a problem by not penalising him heavier? By not saying you've got a problem, mate, you need to sort this out? Or did they just pass that problem on to Cass, rubbing their hands together, that Cass were daft enough to pay 150?
Well, I would imagine the way that Leeds Rugby League Club is and the professionalism what Leeds Rugby Club are, they would have done it both ways. They would have given
Leeds do have a track record of standing by people who get into trouble.
They would have maybe, first of all, maybe done the softer touch, or first of all, maybe done the hard way, and then secondly, the vice versa from there. And then they've realised, this is no hope. We tried. We've done it the tough way, we've done it the loving way, and we've done it maybe a little bit different.
How have they done it the tough way? How have they done it the tough way?
Well,
when did they ban him? I don't remember him banning him or standing him down. Or
we don't know if he got fined heavily on this sort of thing, because that never came out. But the opportunities, what Leeds have given, and then also opportunity what Casford have given from there, as you say, has been a disgrace to the sport. And I just feel as though with these interviews, what he has done is blame the clubs for his misdemeanours.
Can I ask you an honest question? And this is to everyone and to the listener at home. As much as you want to believe him, what's your initial reaction when you see it?
I think there's 2 things here. The first is going back to the original point about don't want full page interviews with administrators. I think it's fair to say the administrators don't want full page. You know, Robert Elston can't come out and say we need to make more personalities in the sport. We can't go to Barry Hearn, whose advice is, or Eddie Hearn, you need to have more personalities in the sport, and then keep interviewing the people that are saying we need more personalities in the sport. At some point, you've got to interview the personalities in the sport. So yes, I think it wasn't a criticism. I think it's just fair to say that what we need to do is get more personalities in front of the public rather than administrators. If you ask a lot of people, even within rugby league, for names of administrators, they'll know some of them more than they will know the names of the players. So that's what we need to get away from, and that's why the comment was made. And I think that's a valid comment, because I think that's come from the people.
So therefore, is he one of the personalities we as a sport want to champion?
No, but the second issue is, while you're at the level that we are at the moment, where we don't have too many recognisable personalities, Zach Hardaker's story is a story that can be told on a national level, and you would hope that that is a story of redemption. The last time it wasn't. So now, I personally, would I interview him at the moment? Probably not. I might want to wait till a month into the season just to see how he plays. You know, he's been out of the game for 16 months, and although you can do as much training as you like, that first month's going to be really tough for him. So let's see how he does. Let's see if he does have any misdemeanors. Let's bear in mind that when he was signed by Wigan, this was the last chance of the last chances, and within 2 weeks of officially starting training,
he was getting another last chance.
Right. So I think you're right to be sceptical, but I understand exactly why he is a story at the moment. Until we get more personalities to tell stories about, personality being somebody who is recognised by the public wider than rugby league, people know Zach Hardaker's story. I think that the important thing is to link Zach Hardaker's story to Tony Adams, because Zach Hardaker, if he has had redemption at this stage, has done it through Sporting Chance. That is Tony Adams' charity. Tony Adams has now been made president of the Rugby League. The story for me is, why did Tony Adams get involved in Rugby League? Because he saw a lot of Rugby League players coming through Sporting Chance who he realised had problems but he admired. So that when the Rugby League came to him and said, would you be our president, will you be an ambassador for our sport, link that to Zach Hardaker. I get that. That is a story. So yes, I can see why.
Is it the right story for our game?
Maybe it's the only story we've got to sell at the moment.
Oh, no,
until
Phil,
we go
Phil's got more.
in terms of the wider
the only
public.
story, we kick off the brand new Super League
Yeah.
season. We've been blating on about the quality of the overseas players who are going to be coming.
Well,
the marquee signs what we all made, and we're doing a big publicity about Zach Hardaker.
Well, it's
I'm
not
having
going to be the
Not having
only
it.
story. He is a story that if you are a national...
But it should be a story anyway.
But if you're an editor of a national newspaper, and I come to you and say, I can give you a nice story about a bloke you've never heard of, but it's a really good bloke, or I can give you an exclusive with Zach Hardaker who you'll have heard of. As a national newspaper editor, you will take the Zach
Well, let me just say this then. If I was Zach Hardaker's agent, you know what I'd be saying? He's doing nothing until he starts proving on the
that,
field.
again, is my...
That would, if I was his agent,
if
I
I
would be
was-
saying he's doing absolutely nothing. And I'd be saying to Zach, you're doing nothing.
I'll tell you what, if I was
You-
Wigan, I might be saying
You're
that.
not talking the talk. You've got to walk the walk first before you start doing talk the talk.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
And if I was
The
Wigan, I
club might
might
have
say
put him up. You don't know.
Yeah.
The club might have put him up for it.
Here's Nicholas, and he says, get inspiring positive personalities out there so that the news doesn't just pick up the embarrassing stories of players misbehaving. Tell us about a hard-working lad from a small community who sacrificed so much to finally make the big team, and the parents who had to make some tough choices to support their boys' dreams. And Nicholas is right.
But there's
And
got to
unfortunately,
be more than
Phil's
that.
right as well.
There's got to be more
But
than
the
that.
problem is, we're just going to the same well time and time again.
Well-
What has changed since he was on the front of Rugby League World? And we had everyone coming out and defending the front cover of Rugby League World. Zach's back. When he'd done nothing. Nothing at all to change what had happened.
Let me
And
ask
he's
you a
back
question
again.
about you introduced quite rightly the NFL at the start of the programme and the profile. Are all the stories about the wonderful athletes who play the NFL, about the wonderful athletes who play the NFL, or are they people with stories who might have done misdemeanors?
Well, I think Brian's here with the team. But what I'm going to go hold on then. Kansas City Chiefs, best team in the competition.
Yeah.
They sacked their best player, one of their best players,
Yeah.
one of the best players in the competition. They sacked him because it was found that he'd lied to the club, he'd been involved in an incident, and they sacked him. Not a second thought, we'll see if we can farm him off down to Pittsburgh, they'll have him because they'll pay him because they're mugs. They went, no, he's getting sacked. And the NFL have come in and he's indefinitely banned from playing NFL. His career might be over. One of the best talents they have got, gone. Kansas didn't come out and whinge about it. They just went, we asked him about it at the start of the season. He said here, and we said if it's B, you're going, and it will be, and he's gone. Never been mentioned again. Not heard anything
But
about
the
it.
stories that get picked up on. have to have
understand.
something more than being
I'm just
they're good, wholesome people.
yeah, of course.
There has to be. Yeah,
But the redemption hasn't happened yet because it's happened after homophobia and the violence. You know, David's pointing out drugs, drink driving, this, that, and the other.
I mean, we as a sport have
time.
got to decide what we want, because we had an ambivalent attitude to Ben Barber last year. That Ben Barber, undoubtedly for what he did on the field, was a star and came as a really good rugby player. A lot of that was we picked him up because he'd been ditched by the NRL. We were, you know, but that's part of the story. You know, you have to take the negative with the positive, because that's the way the media works.
Well, maybe then. Hold on a second.
Alex Walmsley should be a story that should be promoted from the very start of this season.
Yeah, back from the brink.
Somebody who came to the sport late, reached the very highest levels, had a potentially a serious injury to the point where it was life-threatening or life-affecting rather than sport-threatening. So he's a story that we should be looking at. Tommy Makinson as a Golden Boot winner is another story we should be looking at. Blake Austin, the reason he's here is not solely because he's a good player. That, you know, there were some issues that he has had at Canberra while he was there, that they've made a decision that they can go in a different direction without him. But he's a really interesting character. We need, you know, all of those are the stories that, but they have to have something other than being
I just don't want
wholesome.
it to seem like I've got a witch hunt against Zach Hardaker or Scott Moore or whoever. I hope that they and the players who've been banned for cocaine or whatever, I hope they can find their peace and become better people and so on and so forth. I'm just sick of hearing the same stuff. Nothing has changed from when he was on the front of Rugby League World, however many months ago, to yesterday.
Rich, I totally agree with you. So Mike asked the question, will he come back anywhere near? Well, Mike's quite simple answer is, they're saying he could maybe become the Man of Steel this year. Not a cat in hell's chance.
I don't think you can, and this gets into morality, and you can't have morality with sport and mix it all together, but as soon as that award was given the name of a player, and why that award is named after that player, it's not a very good look, is it?
Well, I would say I think you need to introduce, if you've got a drug ban and sorry, but you're not allowed, you can't win it. It's as simple as that. It's part of the punishment.
Do you think he'll come back?
Well, I think he's a player. Yeah, I think he's a player who'll be
What do you think he'll come back as a player?
Absolutely.
I think he'll define Wigan's
world
season.
class. He will.
Yeah.
He'll be world class. He will.
If
I've
Wigan
no doubt about
will
that.
do anything this year, it'll be on the back of him playing at a level he was playing at Castle.
There's never been an issue with Zach Hardaker, the rugby league player. He is absolute quality. It's what Zach Hardaker.
Not been anywhere near. He's not been anywhere near for 16 months.
Just try and score at Headingley against Leeds for Cass.
That's 2 years ago.
Yeah, I know,
2 years ago.
He's not been out with a broken leg or an ACL that might, he's been out, and really he should be fit. As I know what you're saying, you can't replicate that, that physique, the hammer your body gets playing rugby. He'll soon get that.
Oh, he will. What, we filling himself up with drugs and booze?
He's been doing that, Willie, for the last year.
Well, last year, we're going to get back from drink driving.
Drink drive. So no player's been out and had 10 pints on a Friday night. I mean, I agree they won't have driven home. I'm not condoning it. Don't tell me none of the players haven't been out on the source. That's rubbish.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that.
Also, what's he not done anything that anyone else has?
But he's not been anywhere into the physical side and this sort of thing.
And you're telling me they haven't been braining for the last 2 months. They've been braining.
Listen, you can train as much as what you want. It's all about once you're out there 90 minutes. It's a plus as well.
Plays at fullback, Gary. He don't play in the front row.
Once he gets that ball, I tell you, they'll all be ripping him. But also as well, what about the pressure he's going to be under from the opposition fans and all this sort of thing?
I don't think he's bothered. I think he thrives on it.
Well, I tell you what, time will tell. Time will tell.
Look, is that the rugby league player? I've no issue with. Is that the person? I want him, and I tweeted this to him when he came back and he was getting hammered, and I tweeted it to him at the time. I went, I hope you don't wait. I said, I wish you all the best in the world. There's a lot of people want you to fail. Don't let them people win, and lo and behold, that's what's happened.
And if you don't stay off social media.
Now, I spoke via social media to Thomas Minns this week, who's been banned 16 months. He'll be back this year. I had a chat with Paul Cook about this. Zach Hardaker got sacked at Cass and basically was given a deal somewhere else. He'd never had the hardship of not being a rugby league player. He couldn't play, but he was still a rugby league player. Thomas Minns has had to go away, get a job to pay for his family and look after himself, and he's done that. I've not heard anything. I've not heard any. He's not been in the press. He's not done anything. That might be his own free will. He might not want to do anything. He's gone away and he's rebuilt his life, and he's going to come back. I think I have no doubts in my mind. he will be fine from here on in. I've no doubts. He's made a mistake. He has paid the penalty for it, and he has. I think his actions have spoken louder than his words by the fact we've not heard from him. And I hope he gets back. I hope he gets back in Super League. That is hopefully a redemption story.
Yeah.
You know what he did was wrong. He knows. I don't need us telling him that. When he gets sacked and he's got no money, he ain't got someone paying him whatever £5 grand a month to sit at home waiting for his contract to start. He's had to go out and earn his own money. So I think there are two different things there.
Yeah.
And I think there are two different sides to a very similar story.
I'm very concerned. I tweeted this last week. UCAD, who come down with these punishments, have opened Pandora's box now.
There.
And you know, Rangi Chase got 2 years.
Tennis
Tennis player got a year because tennis. Footballers get a slap on the wrist because that's why Gordon Taylor's the highest paid union leader in the world. And rugby league players, it seems it depends on what your level of story is. And I mean story, not the sense of making things up, but in the sense of what you are saying is the reason why.
Extenuating circumstances.
Yes. How can the bans be different? How can Rangi Chase get 24 months? One player gets 20, one player gets 16, one player gets 14. It's either everyone gets 2 years, or we just say, right, it's open season, do whatever you want.
It is. If you're daft enough to get caught in, and this is where you mentioned about Barber. Look, if Zach and Thomas and whatever had done that, and Rangi and Adam Walker had gone out end of the season and done it, you go, no, well, these things happen. Hijinks, these
End
things
of
happen.
season.
Gets a 12-game ban, whatever. You know, we get a bang on about NFL. They get drug violation policies. They get banned for 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 1 week, whatever, 6 months. Some get banned indefinitely. Depends how bad it is. But I'm with him. I'm with Rich on this one.
You have to have a
I
base
think there is, lads, and I've said it before. You need to call an amnesty. You need to go out and say, right, lads. Truth now. If you've got an issue, you can come forward. We'll help you get help, and we'll sort it out, and it'll be dealt with discreetly. And I think in fairness to the RFL, as much as we hammer them, it's been clear when the numbers came out about how many beat a Sporting Chance that we're not aware.
Absolutely.
They were mind-boggling, the numbers.
Yeah.
So it can be dealt with privately. But then you draw a line and you say, right, anyone now that gets caught, there's none of this you're appealing. Us as a sport, it's 2 years. Whether you do it the day before a game, when you're on your winter holiday, wherever you are, you just do it. And you say, those are the rules, I'm with you. It's 2 years. Don't come crying that X, Y and Z.
Well, Gareth got 2 years. Was it Matt Stevens, the rugby union player, got 2 years?
Yeah.
What's
So
the difference?
I'm not,
It's the same
I
thing.
know there are different circumstances, but
They
sorting
make
out.
the choice. The players make the choice.
Yeah.
Their choice is to use cocaine.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
Taking this off slightly, the drugs one, I think we're all in agreement on that it's something that needs to be cut out of the sport. The only way the sport can do that is to take a hard line. And there will be some people who will feel that they've been unfairly treated. There'll be others that think, I'll take that, but I'll get my life back on track. Going back to Nicholas's point about you really want to highlight people that have got a good story to tell. What we need to highlight is rivalry. This is a sport that's built on derbies, noisy neighbours. Our big games are Wigan and Saints, Hull and Hull KR, Leeds and Reading. We need to create or expose more the rivalries. So my argument for the start of this season isn't so much that we haven't seen the video yet, because I think the video will be good and hopefully we'll get it in all places that we need to see it. And yes, in an ideal world we should have been seeing this from Boxing Day onwards. My contention now will be we need to start building up Hull and Hull KR and Wigan and Saints, because they're the first 2 games that the general sporting public will see. So we need Jake Connor, who everybody now says can be public enemy #1 on the field. We need him to start saying, I'm really glad we're starting with Hull KR because we're on a bit of a bad run at the moment. If any team we're going to turn over, it's going to be Hull KR. And build up Jake Connor as a personality in the context of the rivalry of that game. We want Adrian Lamb to come out and say, one of the things when I was a player I could not wait for was to knock over St Helens.
Well, you
I'm
wonder
here
why
as
we
a
never did
coach.
it with Wayne. You ask Sean Wayne, he'd come out and say, I hate him. And this is something we haven't done on the telly.
Absolutely.
We mentioned this about the Powell and the Wayne thing. You actually need to exploit that. And
I
I go back to what the NFL is, contrived rivalries at first, but then they're built up. And that's what it is.
Tell me about
Jake Connor last year when he scored that try at OKR, giving it the big come up when he was going in the corner.
This should be big now.
Yeah,
He should be saying, I want more of this, and they should be saying, one person we want to take legally out of the game is this Jake Connor fella.
Okay,
You know,
should be.
you want Dan
remember
White,
this?
yes.
He's back and he's getting it. Or whatever.
John Tompkins as the new skipper going.
Mark.
We've had a team talk before this game. He's getting it.
Mark, Phil, I said half an hour ago, you two guys should be on the think tank of the Super League, because are they coming up with these sort of ideas and suggestions for promoting and telling people what sort of products we've got, what sort of rivalries we've got, what the derbies have got, what it means to people? Are we telling people this? Quite simply, we're not.
You know, Louis McCarthy Scarborough was somebody that we know quite well on this programme because he's a columnist for Forty20.
By the way, he won't be on this video. What is a Southern if they're on about the Northern bit?
He's just signed a new contract, which is good, 2 years. He's going to take him to 10 years. It's his birthday today, by the way, if he's watching. Happy 33rd. But Louis is a marketable character. And Louis, having signed a new contract, he immediately should be saying, I'm so glad my new contract starts with a game against Wigan, because if there's one person I want to belt, it's my old mate Tony Club at Wigan, and build it up. And they are genuine rivalries. We're not contriving anything. But what we are doing is picking the personalities out of that and making that the story. And going back again to the comment about whether we should be seeing full page features in the national newspaper about administrators. That's the story I think we should be selling to national editors. Oh, we've got this cheeky Cockney chappie. He wants to, bad-mouth Wigan. Oh, he's not even from the north of England. He's got a Cockney accent. What's he doing playing this game?
Yeah, no, I get that.
Get applying for the marketing and promotion.
Greg says, look at what boxing has done with Fury.
Oh, don't start
Made
me,
a
Greg.
redemption tale, don't destroy lads, see what he can do. I think Fury got his ban and took it, didn't he?
You mean a redemption of a man who's never apologised for all those things he said, apart from a mealy mouth one?
He did. To be fair though, he got banned for his drugs and he took his ban, didn't he?
But it's quite funny because BT in the build up to that fight, because they were making money out of it, because it was the time of the Rainbow Laces campaign in football. BT's logo was the rainbow flag on Twitter, and yet they're promoting a Tyson Fury fight who has had outspoken comments about homophobic comments in the past, but that's alright because we're all making money, isn't it?
Morals, Richard.
Well, no, as soon as anyone bumps us 50 quid, we'll say whatever, until they do.
We could quadruple our offer for the old Challenge Cup. A lot of people worried we've got no sponsor. That is one thing people are getting worried about.
But the great news is the Our League app at the forefront of everything, showing another game between two amateur sides. Why?
Well, it's the start of the Challenge Cup. There's something riding on it.
Yeah, but two teams.
But how embarrassing is it for us?
But there's another worry that if you're a big business, why would you want to get involved in sponsoring the Challenge Cup until you knew that the teams that you wanted to be in there, not least the holders, were going to be in there?
So
I've got my pen ready on my chequebook, and the first thing I want to know is, will Catalan be defending their trophy? If Toronto and Toulouse were to assume Toulouse wanted to be in it, get to the final, can I bring my clients from Canada over to the final? Because I'd be quite excited if there were those commercial opportunities were open. I'm say British Airways. We fly to places like Toronto. I'd quite like to trade on the back of that. You wouldn't sponsor the cup at the moment, would you? Because of the issues that we spoke about from last week that haven't been resolved. Another week has gone by. No statement has been made. To reconcile that situation. Now, I would assume that Ralph Rimmer's phone has been red hot this week with Bernard Guachon, and they're hammering out some kind of a deal. I'm positive that's been happening every day.
Can Ralph speak French?
Do you think?
Maybe. But what you need before you sponsor
You
the
honestly think
competition...
Bernard would be phoning Ralph up? I would imagine Bernard would be like that.
Bernard put that statement out saying, I'm not playing it. Might as well go like that, hasn't
Well,
Ralph!
I would imagine Bernard will not be making any phone calls to Ralph Rimmer.
Don't annoy Bernard.
No way, mate.
Bernard is in charge of the meat cleavers. That's what he does.
Yeah. You want your 500 grand, Ralph? Come and get it.
He won't be wasting his 25 francs on making a phone call.
What he should have done was he
reassure
should have got a big meat cleaver and banged it in the desk and go, Ralph, you want your cup? You come and get it.
Yeah. That's
what they're doing. He won't be making any phone calls.
But in French, obviously. But you wouldn't sponsor the competition at the moment because of where that competition sits. Resolve the situation and then try and go out.
But we have extended one sponsorship deal last week because I saw the email. So why don't we try and sell them the?
I think they've got some affiliate sponsorship of the Challenge Cup.
Well, they could have said, a few more quid.
Again,
why don't you sponsor it? 40-20.
Well, we could go up to £5.5.
Well, there you go. That's the best offer they've got, Phil.
Well, we already
Money
sponsor,
talks.
we already sponsor a cup in the Yorkshire Men's League.
Why don't we melt that thing down? I'm not on about Lardy on the end. I'm on about,
The thing that's not here.
Yeah.
Well, if no one knows it's here,
No.
then we can melt it down, can't we?
No one knows what it is yet.
Eh?
No one's worked out what it is yet.
No one's even asked, have they?
Which is odd.
This is just the type of thing Phil has hanging round.
Yeah.
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. He's got loads of boxes.
It's definitely
Bit
not here.
boring,
It's not here. It's not here.
Not here. No one's ever seen it. If you've seen it, you're making it up. So there's no. A lot of people are worried about this, though. Genuinely, fellas, about the sponsorship of the cup.
We're not going to sponsor it till we resolve this issue.
Right. Okay.
Get the holders in, and we might find a sponsor.
What are you doing here? That's my copy. That. What
It's my copy. It's mine. No, it's mine.
Okay.
It's mine.
David says, anyway, let's talk about the Wardle and Rankin swap deal. Is this another masterstroke from Darryl Powell? Gary Schofield.
Well, certainly John wasn't when he signed with Cass.
We did question it at the time.
He wasn't a Cass player, was he? So he'll be more suited to the Huddersfield way at what Joe likes. Hopefully he's going to be playing in the second row. He'll get rid of all his injuries, what he's got. He'll certainly add something to that pack, will Joe, from there, but it certainly wasn't in Castleford's DNA for me, the way that Castleford likes to play. Rankin, obviously depends whether they're going to play him, doesn't it? But as far as from an organisation point of view, at the half-back,
Well, it seems to me, Gary, two coaches happy to get rid of the respective players. Rankin's been big enough to come out and say, look, the writing's on the wall, there's no point me being
they
here.
didn't want me here, so Rankin as a half-back, as a main man, well, I want to see Truman as a main man from there, so if he's going to be a feeder player, he ain't got the support player with the pace from there, so I'm not convinced, mate, to be honest with you. I'm not convinced.
They need an outside back, don't they? They are a bit light in that. I didn't think the Wardle signing worked out. I questioned it at the time. I
Yeah,
don't
it
think
did
it's
work
worked
out.
out.
We didn't think it
He's
would.
going back to where he played his best rugby.
Where he's comfortable at.
That might well reignite his career.
Yeah.
Rankin, best I've seen of him play was at fullback when he was at Hull. He actually played well for a spell, but then at fullback for Huddersfield, they clearly don't like him defensively, so they don't want him there. It's a strange one, isn't it?
To be honest with you, if I'd have been, well, I know, but he's gone to Lee now, hasn't he? But if it's still been at Huddersfield from there, with Gale being out, I would have liked Oliver Russell. I think that, and him and Truman as a half-back partnership, because Russell himself's a good organiser, he's got a good kicking game, and they could have shared that responsibility. I would have been far better for Cass.
Would they let him go to Cass though? He's only on loan, so they could recall him, couldn't they? If they...
Well, if I'd have been Cass, I'd have been making inquiries for that young kicker. So I
I
think
thought
he's
you
week
just
in,
said
week
Declan
out.
Patton.
Well, why don't you want a Declan Patton go, will they? So
Where's he
Why
going to
not?
play?
He's not going to play
Where's
for
he going to
Warren.
play?
I think Patton will be in the 17 week in and week out. To be honest with you,
Is he going to be the backup hooker though?
maybe so from there. But I would have been looking more like an Oliver Russell.
But is he going to be backup hooker because they've signed Danny Walker, haven't they? So I think.
I don't think he'll play.
No.
I don't think he'll play. I think he's going to be. He's in very much danger of being the next Jordan Lilly, not getting enough game time.
I think the is it a masterstroke by Darryl? First question, was Joe Wardle a masterstroke?
No,
Probably not.
no, it wasn't. Didn't work.
Who-
End off.
Who do you get at this stage of the season when all the recruitment's done? Jordan Rankin probably is the best you can get in,
Well,
bearing in
raises
mind
the
that you need
question-
a half-back.
Yeah, but it raises the question of allegedly after Icky for. So as the Gale injury meant they've gone, oh, we better get him just in case. So again, is it a bit of a stopgap? Oh,
Well, they've got dispensation on the salary cap that they,
Well,
can,
where are they
spend,
gonna spend
they
it?
can spend on any player. They don't have to spend it on a replacement for Luke Gale.
no, but
That'd upset people if they didn't.
Well, people are upset anyway.
But I think again also as well, he just puts a question regarding Jamie Ellis and also to Corey Aston. Obviously, Dal doesn't believe that they can do it week in and week out and get where they want to get
Well,
to.
and also he has to have some protection for Jay Truman because there may well be that he won't be able to do it week in, week out, as we saw with Danny Richardson, that it takes a huge, not so much even physical toll, but there's a mental toll if you're playing every single week in that competition. And it may well be that Rankin is back up for Truman as well, which I sort of get. But
Phil,
you're
one
right.
thing for sure,
they've got-
Castleford will not be able to leave. If Truman's fit, they will not be able to leave him out. I'm telling you. No way, mate. He's going to be that important to him next season.
Mary's impressed. She says he's bound to be good if Scully is slagging him off.
it's a fair
Slagging
point
him
there.
off.
She's
Slagging
worked
him
it
off.
out. You were questioning ranking.
I don't think he was slagging.
I'm not slagging him off. I was just saying.
I've heard you slag people off. That wasn't a slag.
No.
Mark says a week earlier we could have had drink water. Well, it's buts and
Well,
maybes.
yeah, but again, we're going off 6 months.
If Zach had been a week later, you'd still have Zach. But
we're on the grand final.
No, they wouldn't have won the grand final.
yes, they would.
They would not have won the grand final. The way Leeds played that night, Hardacre wouldn't have made any difference.
Don't get that. Everyone will want Danny Brough anyway. He's going to be the man who leads Wakefield to glory. I saw it yesterday. Kick from the touchline.
Question for the Wakefield fan at the end.
Oh yes.
Chris Chester said Wakefield's man of the match yesterday, and let's hands up here. You cannot read too much into pre-season.
No.
Don't sack any coach on your pre-season results. And that, what was it? 2016 was it? Wigan lost all their pre-season games and won the grand final. So don't read anything much into pre-season. Max Jowett, man of the match by common consent. His coach said, "Is he going to start next year? This year?"
No, I've been
Because
consistent.
Ryan Hampshire's now earmarked for the full-back squad. What is Max Jowett going to do this year?
I've been consistent in saying for the last few years, I think the signing of Scott Griggs was a bad thing in so much as that it put Max Jowett's development back 2-3 years because he hasn't had the game time. I think naturally he's obviously a very good player. He gets blamed by some idiots because he makes mistakes, but then every young player makes mistakes. I'd rather have a young player who is going to grow up through the club and could become, a great player in the future and everything.
Isn't that how you learn your trade?
Well,
making mistakes?
No, because you'll have to make mistakes if you're an old player and you've got a reputation. If you're a young player, then it's all your fault. We saw it again at fullback yesterday. He always does. He always looks good under the high ball. I think it's a shame that he doesn't like Ryan Hampshire he's wearing one shirt instead of him because I think Max Jowett's a better fullback. But what do I know? I'm not the coach of the club. I'd rather have Jarrett at fullback. Miller and Brough obviously going to be in the halves, aren't they? So where that leaves Ryan Hampshire, I don't know. He scored a very good individual try yesterday, and as is the sense of things when people score good individual tries, it masks anything else they do in the game. I'm not saying he had a bad game yesterday. I'm not saying he had a good game, but people
I
see
think
that
Hampshire had to improve, and I think he did improve last year. If I'm honest, I think he was
but
better.
not in the position that he's now being played.
Well, that's the problem. I get that. I think that's a tough one, and I think that's one. Jowett always, to me, looks like a player. He's clearly talented. He looks like a player that's worried he's going to get dropped. He always seems to be worrying if I make a mistake. That might be completely rubbish. He always strikes me as a player thinking, "Oh God, I've made a mistake. I've got to do something." If you know you're going to get picked, Scott, even if the coach says, "Right, you've got 2 months. Don't worry about it. Just do what I know you can do, and if you do that, you'll stay in the team." I think that would help. I think he needs to know, doesn't he? But then Hampshire's going to say, "Well, hang on, I want to play, so why I play?" And it's very difficult. And that Scotty, is a problem when you've got a good squad, and they've got a good squad at Wakefield now. There are no excuses now.
Well,
the tools are there. You've got to get those tools.
With the players what I selected in my comp today, I said it with Jordan Abdul. Oh, it doesn't matter how well Jordan Abdul played week in and week out. He knew he wasn't going to. He knew he wasn't going to play the week after.
Yeah.
Because of that, and Jowett is exactly in the same position. Unless Chester says to him, "Hey, listen, I'm going to give you. You're getting 10 games on the bounce where we played good, bad, and indifferent. Unless you're playing crap for 2 or 3 games on the bounce. But now for you, just go out there, show me I know what you can do. Go out there and prove it consistently how I want you to do it. And if you do it, well, you stay there. Simple as that. But the problem for Jowett is he always thinks doesn't matter how well he plays. He won't have that. He may not have that spot the week after.
The interesting thing Chris Chester said after the game was, as well as praising Jowett and Hampshire and whatever, was there were players who obviously didn't impress him yesterday because he said he was going to have to make some changes to the squad. He was going up to Newcastle this weekend, so it's good for Newcastle. We might see some stars of Super League.
Hey, I tell you what, Wakefield, the first game of the season, it's down at London. Yeah. That's a tricky fixture,
The other
That's a tricky fixture.
It's a very top-heavy squad with like 8 or 9 front rowers. So.
In the new interchange.
I'm going. I tell you what, the first game of the season, London Wakefield. I'm going London by 8.
But you look at that.
You look at you now, going, "Oh bloody hell!"
You look at the
I'm going
forward
London by 8. First game
You
of
look
the
at the
season.
forward pack that they've got, with the exception of Fafita and even Paulie, to be fair, played a lot of minutes last year in the back row. There's only really Fafita that Kopchak could play if you said him play 80 minutes. And I think they've got a pack that can do that.
I'm not sure Anthony England can.
But if you've only got 1 or 2 that you need to roll.
Anthony England's hair, we need to talk about this. He's had his hair done and he looks like Dave Fafita. From a distance. He looks like Big Dave. It's
Hold
very
on, hold
concerning.
on. He's had his hair done. If he looks like Dave, he must have put about 8 stone on.
I'm just saying. It's a
I'll
long
tell you
road.
what, last year, Phil, when England and Keegan started, I thought they were outstanding.
But
I think the
how
better.
many minutes can they do? Because
Well,
now they're going to
I
have.
think
They're
England.
going to have
Yeah, I
to
think
do
England
40
could
or
do
50.
it. No, I think
I think they can.
they are better starting props of coming off the bench. I like them as a starting unit. I think they could do 40, 50. I do, without
I
doubt.
think they're going to have to.
It's going to be interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Robert's asked us about the shot clock. He
Right.
asked me, did
Yes.
it work? Well, no, because he hasn't got one. As Chris Chester pointed
You
out.
sure they haven't
afterwards.
weighed it in?
Not like the old
It
It was
scoreboard,
there.
no.
It was there at 2 o'clock, and at 3
No.
it had gone.
They did have 2 hooters. And
Hooters?
2 different sounds. You know the hooter, end of half. Not bully off bullseye.
2
But
hoopers.
they had another one which was the shot clock. So when it went off, you knew that the clock had run out. But there
So
wasn't
there
a big
wasn't a
there.
clock. There was a hooter.
Yeah, but obviously you don't know, do you? Because if you can't see a big clock, you don't guess. So,
Is it like countdown? Is that what they're going to do?
that's what they should do. That's
Did it.
what they should
Well, the two
do.
left-
Penalty, lads, penalty.
Where's
Well, the
what
two
else?
referees. Well, the two referees as well.
There's Rob Hicks and then some all of his mates. You know, they touched us on that, and but no one knows if it worked because no one knew when the clock was. But I think it'd be interesting because what I took from it was you're going to see more kicks to touch on the last tackle because you're going to have players like Danny Bruff thinking that big lad there, he's knackered him. We have to get him forming a scrum quickly.
Tell you what I know, fellas. I'm just looking at the Betfred Super League for the odds here. Catalan Dragons 16-1. Tell you if they keep the players fit from there, and Greg
What?
Bird, if he keeps his discipline from there, Catalans, they're in the top 3 this year.
Last games to play
I'm
as well.
telling you, 16-1. That's surely worth a fiver of anybody's money, isn't it?
I
Said
know.
that in the last season.
Hey,
Good odds. Wakefield 33 is probably worth an each way bet.
That one for the cup.
well I'll tell you what, London first game of the season, they're going top of the league. They're doing Wakefield first game of the season. It's London by 8.
250 to 1.
It's London by 8.
We've got
You know that
I'm going to get me
Curry
some
one?
good.
You know
I've
that
got
Curry
the
one?
Wakefield t-shirt.
You know
there.
that Curry you owe me? Double a quits on that. I'll take
We've,
Wakefield.
Right, we're on then.
Yeah,
we're
don't
on.
you worry.
We're
when
on.
are we going to start the new podcast? Next week?
Yeah, we'll do it next week. Yeah.
New podcast with them. We'll just keep telling you never do it. What everyone else does. Told you that's who's the first coach who's going to go. We've done a 6, we'll see him next week. Well, chances in a couple of weeks.
The answer is hopefully not.
Well, of course.
It's a British sport, and we know what happens.
Who we never
The
see?
guy that I think, again, some really interesting articles at the moment with Lee Radford, who I think we would say is one of the pleasures to deal with, win,
Yeah.
lose or draw.
Yeah.
I think he's one of the best wits that he's got an acerbic wit. He sizes things up. He doesn't. You know, some of the times it's misinterpreted because he's actually very, very dry and droll in what he says. But I hadn't realised until it was pointed out that he and all his coaching staff are off contract at the end of this year. I think that's even more pressure on a situation of coming into the season on 11 straight defeats, plus your first 3 games being Hull, KR, Castleford and Wigan.
Yeah.
So if a coach is under pressure,
And 1 or 2 in the leagues, aren't they, to the league first 5 games?
If he's got
Then-
to beat OKR day one, he has to beat.
Has
them.
that
Now-
been changed now to the...
No, it's still
Not
OKR.
yet.
It's still OKR, is it?
And I know people. I think Sandy was saying
Yeah,
about the OKR. I was actually with someone from OKR at the weekend, and they said, "Look, basically, what's happened? Obviously, there's been a fault with the floodlight. It's fallen down. They basically couldn't go on the ground to get because there might be glass on it. They couldn't get into the ground because health and safety were involved, and they had to cancel. I mean, it must have cost the club a fortune because they had to shut the club for a certain period of time." They're hoping to get that sorted out. I think they're having to have temporary lighting at maybe one of their games or something. That's the plan. But I think they want that to be at home. I mean, it's a huge game.
Also as well, when you look at across the city as well in Tim Sheen, because the trim their squad, what OKR have done this year, they've gone for more quality numbers because what OKR did last year was quite simple. We're not bothered about the first round, 23. We know where we're going to be.
Survival.
So from there. So, but this year for Tim Sheen's, he's got better quality from there. So I think the pressure's on there where they certainly going to finish in the top 8.
He's got the team now that he wanted. You know, he's got the team. He's been given free rein. He's gone out and got what he wants. He's probably let some players go that I think a few people who have probably kept him. Donaldson, Clarkson. Who you kept them? They've gone. They've been moved on. That's his decision, isn't it? So on his head, that decision.
Plus as well, they've stopped the dual registration with York. So they're keeping everybody on board from there. So everybody being on the same philosophy. Everybody, if anybody gets injured, they'll know exactly what their role's going to be from there. So yeah, it's a big season for Team Season on KR this year.
I think going back to the coach, if you run through the teams, Justin Holbrook, safe for the year. Yeah, the only worry for St Helens fans would be if he does such a good job at an NRL club at some point comes into.
Well, Lamb's the first one to go. He's been replaced by Edwards already.
Steve Price just signed a new deal. He ain't going anywhere.
Palford,
Wigan, we know their coaching structure.
Yeah.
Can't see Darryl leaving Castleford unless he fell out with Castleford. I can't see Castleford falling out with him.
What if they have a poor start to the season?
Who's that?
Castleford.
I think because Darryl.
Well, there's a big debate going on social media about Darryl Powell.
Right.
And
There's a big debate
I don't
about
want to use
Castleford as
someone
well.
else's.
We've got to talk about that.
Yeah, well, yeah, we'll see. About Darryl. I don't know. He's not going to get sacked.
No, but I think the only thing that I would be worried about if I was a Castleford fan, if Darryl said, I'm not getting the backing that I want, whatever backing he might want, if he didn't get that, be that finance for a player that they've now got a window under the salary cap, if he says, right, I identified the player, that's who I need to use the money from Luke Gale, and he's told that money isn't available, because it's all right having the capacity to spend, but you've got to have the money.
Yeah.
So I think Darryl's okay at Cass unless he decides otherwise. Dave Furner's new at Leeds. Lee Radford, we've said, is under threat. Steve McNamara winning the cup has bought himself all of this year, whatever. I mean, Catalan may well not make the top three, but I think Steve has established himself.
Well, they've recruited well. Their team is better.
Yes,
you'd have to say that.
But also,
So there's expectation, but I think we're looking at coaches who might be under threat. Don't see Simon Wolford. I think he's already done a great job at Huddersfield, and his recruitment would say he's now getting the team that he wants. I think they'll be hard to beat. Their worry would be injuries. Chris Chester signed a long-term deal with Wakefield. Tim Sheens won't be at Hull KR forever. It could be.
Well, he's out of contract.
So and it might be because of his age that this will be his last season. But I don't see him being relieved of his duties before the end of the season. Ian Watson's issues are not anything to do with whether he can coach or not. I think the same issues that we've had for the last 2 or 3 years with Salford are, can they survive financially? He is a good coach that would pick up a job elsewhere.
And he's obviously lost a key member of his backroom staff as well.
And London, I think Danny Ward is there for the year. Even if they get relegated, what Danny Ward has done has proved that he can overachieve as a coach with the resource that he's got.
The Broncos will not do the same as Huddersfield Town.
No.
Also, as well, with the Catalan Dragons, if the Catalan Dragons are not in the Challenge Cup, what more motivation do they need to get to the grand final? So the question is, if they're not in the Challenge Cup, will Super League go to Catalan and say, hold on, we'll decide what you've got. You've a chance to get to Old Trafford.
You've got three or four extra weekends.
Can we have £500 off you, please? I'll tell you what, because if they're not in there, they've got a bit of rest period, and the squad what they've got. Don't rule it out being in grand final. I'm telling you. The Catalans for the grand final.
Depends how much
You heard it here first.
They'll be in the cup. I've absolutely no doubt they'll be in the cup.
They won't be, but they won't be paying £500.
No. Do what?
Pay after the 31st of March, it's probably worth less.
So this so-called solution, why is it being sorted out?
What odds are Catalan for the cup? Ralph might have to get 10 grand on him or something, just in case. You have to back him each way though, Ralph.
Ralph knows he's in charge of the draw.
Chris is a fan of having countdown shot clocks at every
I
ground.
reckon it should do
I
it.
think we should license the music.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that'd be great fun.
Yeah.
Everyone loves that. Yeah. Everyone loves the roulette wheel thing. Now we can have the countdown.
And
clock.
we all know about the Yorkshire connections with Countdown when it first started.
Sandy asked earlier, while I look for this price, by the way, because the world what we live in, as Morecambe Wise said, it's a very different world these days. And you can't promote things in the way you used to promote things. I go through all these old rugby league programs, there's full of Miss Rugby League personality girls and stuff. We don't like that anymore. But what we can promote still is sexy rugby league players, because we've got blokes who like have muscles and stuff. Like Scoy used to be one
Beef on the bone.
Yeah. So like, who would be the players we should promote in there?
Still got muscles.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
but
people
they're
don't
not
want to
in
see
the
you in the
same place,
camera.
though, are
They're well hidden though.
It's a bit harsh, boys. It's a bit harsh, isn't it?
Should that be a way we sell the sport this year? I know it's very base, but Sandy says she's not averse to it.
Brian Noble will tell you that the best marketing campaign we ever had was Paul Rowley on all the posters throughout Super League land as Beef on the Bone is back. If it sells.
Get in there, ladies.
Yeah, but we don't do any promotion, we don't do any marketing. Do we?
I'm sure the
We
players
don't
would
tell
like that
anybody the
because
products we've got.
wouldn't that give
Do you
the
know- do you
the
know
players
why-
without getting a big
Oh, by the
ego
way, a
about
bit
it.
of breaking news. I think
Yeah,
Wagner's been sacked. I didn't
yes,
know that.
yeah.
How was
I
that?
didn't know it's been
Huddersfield,
sacked.
Huddersfield Town, look at that. What a
Wow.
bunch of idiots.
That's surprising.
That is poor.
Catalan Dragons
That is
are
really poor.
14-1 to win the Challenge Cup,
Even though they're not in it.
even though they're not in it. Yeah, but you can bet on players to win the World Darts who aren't in it, so it's all right.
Who were all the people, by the way,
25
that backed him to get the sack yesterday? They all knew.
They,
didn't
well,
they?
they always do,
They
don't
all
they?
knew.
They always
They all
do.
knew. What did they tell us?
They'll get some useless person in there to stay up and then they'll still go down. Good old Huddersfield Town.
That'll be, what's his name, won't it?
Sam Allardyce, probably.
No, the guy who used to play for Manchester United, manager of Stoke and Southampton. Mark Hughes.
Moyes.
Mark Hughes. Oh, yeah,
It's
Mark
bound to
Hughes.
be him, isn't
Yeah. Roy said we could use the Jaws thing for the shot clock as well.
Yeah, it's good, good.
See, our listeners and viewers have great
Spot on.
ideas. So, you know,
Yeah.
write them to Robert Elston at the Super League somewhere in
Somewhere,
Manchester.
yes. An office in Manchester.
Toby's asked, do we know when the video's out? No.
No.
We think it'll be I think it'll be the launch. The
Of course
24th.
it will be. Daniel's complaining about my arm. You can also see my arm on Facebook because we've got a special guest that we're not mentioning. But I'm on YouTube. It's all right. I'm not bothered about being on Facebook. I'm hiding. I should say, after the game yesterday,
What price are Catalans?
the 14
14.
14 to 1.
All
Ralph,
the,
what's that? Well, if you see, he needs
That's
each player
fair,
payout.
yeah,
to
so
So
be
what would that be
price.
for the double then? Catalan's doing the double.
No, we're just thinking about him getting the 500
16s
grand
here
back.
and 14s. What's that then?
No,
Does
they're
that add
not
up to
down.
30 to 1? Is that 30 then? Is it? Is that
No,
what you
no,
know?
it's
It's
more
more
than
than
that.
that.
Is that more?
Yeah.
Right.
What was I saying about? Oh yeah, so we need sexy rugby league players. So yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
what we need is a return to the League of the Extraordinary. If we ever did a promotion right, it was that. But it cost too much money, so we never followed it up.
I'm sure, and the players are all on Instagram. They all know what they're doing, taking photos and selfies. Some of them more than others. Mentioning no players. They can do themselves, promote themselves. Get them on the front of the next magazine. Naked rugby league players. Rugby league, the naked truth. There you go. Decide to Channel 4.
If it'll sell, naked attraction.
Yeah.
Why don't we do a naked kind?
Yeah. There's a
January, February, March, April, May, June, July,
Well, you
August,
fit on April,
September,
May, June,
October, November,
You fit on
December.
you fit on April,
Eh?
May,
Oh,
and
get
June,
in.
wouldn't you?
Don't give me that
Come
much
here,
credit.
us four.
Front-
There's on
front back-
naked kind. You'll be a
Front, back and
bestseller.
side.
Be a bestseller.
See, we starting now,
Yeah.
Sandy.
Eh?
See, we starting
Be a
now.
bestseller. We've all got us mums sorted
Be in
out.
the cellar, along with you.
Tim has brought something up, and he's mentioned this earlier. We need to mention it because it's in the paper again today. Because lo and behold, behind us is a Great Britain Rugby League shirt, not a Great Britain Rugby League shirt, Great Britain Super League shirt
Yes.
for the great days.
The 1997 Test
Indeed.
Series.
It's seen better days, that shirt. The likes of Yestin Harris would have worn that, and all those.
Adrian
other
Morley.
players. There you go, Adrian Morley. One of his 50 caps. Oh, I shouldn't mention that. But
I
yes,
think you got away.
the Great Britain Tour.
Yeah,
He's got his 50.
I heard.
He's got his 50.
The Great Britain Tour. The Great Britain Tour. The
When is
Great
it?
Britain Tour.
When is it?
What's happening?
Where's it playing?
We
When is
should
it?
say it's not the RLAF's fault. That's whose fault it is.
It's-
They provide the framework and the calendar. I was told this at the Hall of Fame, you see. What I should have said, it's all their fault, I couldn't even get invited again. But they put the calendar together and say, these are some dates where there's nothing happening. Why don't you play games? And it's up to those people to go, oh yeah, someone at the
Pick up
RFL
the
goes,
phone.
oh,
Hello.
is that New Zealand? Yeah, I know we've played each other last year about 100 times. You fancy another game? We'll bring Shield back. Go on.
At
Cheers,
your
bye.
place.
Love you, bye.
Can we play Tonga before in your place as well? Oh,
Ring Tonga. Is that Tonga? Hello.
come in,
So,
PG.
just
So
ring
what
Steve
are you
Pascoe, he
saying?
knows everyone.
What are you saying? What's happening?
What we're saying is the New Zealand Rugby League and the RFL need to get their act together. Now, it may be that they're waiting for some commercial. These are two governing bodies that lost £500,000 each when they last tried to put on a fixture in Denver.
Yeah, but that's due to their own
But,
incompetence.
well, then they need to pull their damn fingers out. But it's not the fault of the format that allows them to play each other. They need to come up with a definitive. Is Great Britain coming back? When are they playing, and how do you qualify to play for Great Britain if you're not English?
How do you work out two
And
match test series?
Well, I think they would play 4 different nations, but
No, they're not. They're just going
they won't be playing Australia then.
Papua New Guinea, Tonga, and New Zealand. It says this morning in the paper.
Well,
But Papua New Guinea first, and then played Tonga
There
and
you
New
go.
Zealand and New Zealand, but 2 test matches against New Zealand. So how are you going to get? They're winning that.
Well.
One apiece.
What's about the trophy?
well, we beat the Australian schoolboys in the 2-match series.
We'll find a space for
If
them.
you
Yeah, but more importantly, right, if
When
this
are
is
we
going to
gonna
be a
play?
commercial success, they need people who know when the games
Absolutely.
are so they can book and go.
Exactly.
And it's not going to be, is it?
I'm
They'll
getting
go,
people- I'm still getting
well,
people
what's the
asking me
point?
now.
Because no one
Yeah.
came, no one came.
Mm.
It's ridiculous.
How do they get commercial partners on board if they don't know what they're buying into?
Yeah, we mentioned the Six Nations earlier because it's on telly because I've seen it advertised and everything. When do they release those fixtures? I mean, we know who's going to play each other which year because it's always the reverse of the year before, but everyone knows. We talk about the Rugby Union World Cup, everyone knows.
Rugby Union World Cup is in Japan, which is not a hotbed of the sport.
And apparently it's an expensive place to go to as well.
1 million of the 1.8 million tickets are sold.
Well, they know
I
who's
think,
going to play who.
I think it's safe to say they're going to make a profit.
Yeah. They do some good things, don't they?
And look at the massive sponsors they've got.
Yeah.
Worldwide sponsors
But
involved in that.
again, the principle is not whose fault it is. The principle is why, as a sport, can we not arrange our windows of opportunity
Hold on.
far enough in
Phil,
advance?
you just said,
Hold on.
why can we not arrange
No, it's a
anything?
rhetorical question.
Why can we not arrange anything?
Rhetorical.
We
Ralph,
can arrange to play
Ralph,
Sevilla Rugby.
give us a clue.
Phil, surely somebody's got to be blamed,
Eh?
haven't they?
Why not?
No, it's not
It was-
another
it
one
was a
on Ralph's
rhetorical
toes.
question.
Give us a clue.
No, I'm just saying, you were saying, why do these things not get done? Well, let's have a think.
Yeah.
Why don't they get done?
What,
Brian, what are you doing, son?
Two words first.
80 grand, what are you doing?
what have you allocated monies to if it's not promoting England?
Oh, no, they've allocated it to Brian and Ralph. They're alright, don't worry about that.
There you go.
There you go. Where's that petition?
I know that England will have a new shirt for it as well, so that'll be good. Maybe.
You won't be able to buy it, that's the answer.
No, it's to try to give it, they were trying to flog the other. We should have bought all of
Like
them,
we should
shouldn't we?
have, yeah.
Why don't we just ring them up and say we'll give you 20 quid for
Buy
them?
them all, yeah?
Yeah, we'll have them all for 20 quid.
Become
The ones that
And a flapjack.
The ones that weren't out for the beginning of the series that we were playing in that shirt.
Never mind. Never mind.
So that's international. Oh, that'll be great on the podcast after, isn't it?
Sorry.
You just killed
I
someone.
know.
Somebody's just fallen off their bike.
It's not as bad as the other bell though. No, that was a disaster. So I think that.
Can we not patent our bell idea? It's been
Well,
stolen
I
by
know it
someone
has.
else.
I know, but I need to get that back. And the other trophy, which is not quite as glamorous as
The one that isn't here.
No. Elijah's got it right. Well, kind of. It is one of those, but you haven't said which one it is. It's not the Challenge Cup, you know that.
No. It's not here anyway.
It's not here, yeah.
It's a green
It's
screen.
beautiful.
Alan says, what's this pal thing on social media you mentioned, Mark? No, just a debate between some of our listeners, nothing untoward, Alan. Some querying, is Daryl Powell the real deal?
Is he all that?
Is he?
Text
Yeah,
us
to what? Yeah, but, and I've mentioned this to you, and I had a big investment. I could have done with Cass winning the grand final last
Very
year.
much so.
It didn't happen. His record in big games is questionable. Is that a problem for Cass? And I think that's the gist of what some people are playing. Cass are a really good team. They haven't won any big games yet. And when I mean big games, I mean the final.
My only worry is that at the end of last season, Daryl said quite categorically, we need winners to get us over the line.
And they haven't been out and got any.
And apart from Jordan Rankin, who's come as a swap deal,
Yeah.
they haven't signed anybody.
Yeah.
So how do you, it's all right saying we need to have a change of mentality. Sometimes you have to do that by bringing people in, I think,
Yeah.
who have a different
You mean a
mentality.
Sean O'Loughlin or
Well,
that's what you get. now,
Absolutely,
isn't
yeah.
it?
When I don't talking about Castle, I don't want to talk about Leeds because that'll upset people even more. But the reason Leeds won the grand final was because they had a very promising team that didn't know how to win. So they went out and bought David Furner, and David Furner gave behind the scenes was the catalyst for turning them from the nearly men to men who wouldn't then be beaten in finals, in grand finals. So you sometimes need to bring somebody in who is that old head, who will bring the kids through.
Well, look at it. Look at it.
And I'm not sure Cass have done that
I
this
remember plenty of videos. Jamie W. Buchanan saying, "We never win at Wembley. We never win at Wembley." And it's all, well, what's the point in going? You're going to lose. And they've turned that around, haven't they? But yeah, he went to Old Trafford. They were never going to lose there. But it shows, doesn't it? It's a mental thing. I don't know what Alan thinks. He's a big Cass fan, obviously, but I worry this year about Cass. I do. We talk about recruitment a lot on this show. You look at Warrington. I think they've gone out and added some real quality. St Helens have gone out and added some real quality. I think those two. Catalan probably in that bracket as well.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be the three. And I'm sure Wakey in that. I think they're my top four.
The average number of signings that clubs have made in Super League is 5. and Cass haven't made one.
Yeah.
That would be my worry. Not well, the fact that people said when Gale got injured, which I think is massive for Cass, and this might come back at the end of the season when Cass have won the grand final again. You know what? But everybody's saying we finished second without Luke Gale, third. So it doesn't really matter that he's not here this season. I think that Cass have gone backwards slightly by not having Luke Gale, but the teams behind them have moved forward. It's not that Cass haven't got any worse, it's that those teams around them have got better. You look at the recruitment of all the teams that are going to be in and around that top four, and I think that, we spoke about Catalan. I think they're a stronger team this year.
I spoke to an agent a couple of years ago, and he said to me, Cass have got a £3 million team for 1.7 million quid. He said, when all those contracts come up, you like some at Meakin, McShane, all Milner, all want new deals because they're all on okay money but not great.
And they're now internationals.
And now they're all internationals. Now they're all on big money, and all of a sudden Cass are not bringing in big name players, and they've got a good team. I just looked at them when they came out of the tunnel at the changing room at Wigan, and players were coming to me. I wasn't asking them; they were coming to me and saying, "We just don't win big games." And that is a problem.
Yeah, Dell's done a big piece in the League Express and spoken about that quite openly, to be honest with you, which is going to be applauded about. So they've done different things in training, and I say just measuring up realistically, maybe start the season we may not be hitting our shots, but we'll be ready for the business end. But I totally agree with what you're saying. The players who they've got, they've had to upgrade the contracts for the success what they brought from there, but are they good enough to handle the pressure? And when you ask for the big players to handle the pressure, you look at Adam Milner. We look at Adam the way that he plays. We know what he does. He puts the body on the line week in and week out. There's not an issue with that, but he seems to try too hard. Well, that's not good enough. Paul McShane, I love Macca to death. Quality player, not far off knocking on the door for England, but he always seems to want to come up with the champion players. What you've got to do in finals, and I'm talking about finals because I never won one, but the reason why I never won, or the league side of I played, was because Wigan had far better players than what we did to handle that pressure. And so when you are playing in big pressure games, you've got to handle the big pressure moments at the right time. And Castleford haven't been able to deal with that.
So you've already given us a prediction for London and Wakefield. Castleford's first game, Catalan at home.
Catalans by 12.
Two colours.
I've got to wait for tomorrow because I
What are you laughing at, Mr. Wilson?
No.
I tweeted a bookmaker the other week, asked them for you can come up with your own odds these days without giving away which bookmaker it was. Because I wanted a double of Wakefield to finish above Castleford and Hull KR to finish above Full FC, and they said, tweet it on the 15th, we'll get the price tomorrow.
Oh,
that's the pre-season bet for me.
So you're going the red and whites to top the black and whites?
Yeah. Red Robin.
I think you're right on both of those.
Bobbing everywhere. So some of the bookmakers don't, and I can get a bigger price. That'd be nice. Well, they all go wrong at some point during the season.
Well, let's hope they don't read the predictions in 4020.
Well, someone asked earlier who writes the predictions in 4020 magazine. It says Phil Kaplan writes these predictions.
4020 write the predictions.
Who have you gone for then, Phil? What's your predictions in there? What you got for?
I'm going to find you.
Not far off
What I
the
said?
bookies, but
Not far off what I
I
said?
did change my prediction on Castleford when I heard Luke Gale was out for the season.
Saints top, Warrington second, Wigan third, Leeds fourth. These are Leeds. Wakefield fifth. Oh, win! Excellent, great. Sixth.
He's not bothered now.
Catalans seventh, Huddersfield eighth, Castleford in their 2019 kit that celebrates something.
Castleford eighth. Don't cast 8, Phil.
I had him 6th, but I dropped them to 8th when I heard Gale was
Ninth, the Hull Kingston Rovers. Kane Linnett, someone said he had a good game yesterday against Widnes. Hull in 10th. In 11th,
10th?
Salford 12th.
Oh, mate,
Phil, we'll travel together when we got the cake on, Phil. We'll travel together, Phil.
Not,
I'll get you in that car park. I'll get you in the car park,
travelling
Phil.
together, it's getting out together.
Phil, we'll travel in the same car.
Didn't realise you lads drove a tank.
So, tell me where you would have them finishing.
9th.
So it's not a medal, that's different.
I thought you got OKR finishing 9th.
I'm trying to think now out loud. I said a month ago, didn't I? I think Hull KR finish above Hull. Absolutely.
So when you start pacing that in, Hull then drop?
Yeah.
It's almost impossible to get everything in the right order.
So who wins the derby then, the first game of the season?
Rovers.
No, I'm not so sure. I'm worried about that. Because I think if Hull are fully
Hold on, you're
fit...
saying the red
No,
and
no,
white
no,
are
no, no. I think if Hull are fully fit, they'll be all right. I think he'll get a couple of injuries. They ain't got the squad.
They're
They've
going
got
to
the
be fully.
squad.
It's the first game of the season, so there's
Mark
no
Sneed's
injuries.
not playing. He's not fit.
Who's that?
Mark Sneed.
Oh, is he not playing?
Kelly
oh,
looked, Kelly
all
looked
win.
fitter yesterday. Saw Kelly yesterday.
Did you?
Yeah, he looks a lot fitter than he did in...
Well, so I think that's an interesting one. I really do. I think that's an interesting one.
I'll tell you what, the atmosphere there will be buzzing. Absolutely buzzing.
Well,
It will.
As long as the floodlights aren't buzzing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wakefield's working yesterday. That was a great news.
That was a bit of a drama on there about Wakefield's
Apparently,
floodlights.
I don't know if it's...
Oh, we're not. Oh, yeah,
They
they were working fine.
They were down and then they were up and they're working again now.
Yeah.
It's all good.
They were
Yeah, for
working.
the whole derby, then I'm going red and whites by 7.
Alright, okay, fair enough.
Okay. Write all these down at home, listeners, because it'll change next week and the week today and the week after.
No, I remember.
We're going to start holding you. We are going
We're
to.
gonna-
This is
yeah,
going to be a
We're
matter
gonna
of
write them
public
down this
record.
year.
I just remember the 3 predictions I've done: London by 8, Catalans by
Now
4.
he knows how to work the computer.
Yeah,
by
oh,
seven.
yeah,
You're knackered
yeah.
now.
Who by
yeah.
7? Okay.
OKR by 7, yeah. I've got Wigan Saints. I'm going Saints against Wigan the first game of the season. I'm going Saints by 13. Leeds Warrington. Sorry, Leeds. I'm going Warrington quite convincing. I'm going Warrington by 22.
Andy says, or Sue, could be one of them, or both.
Who does
There's gonna be
Salford play? Who does Salford Huddersfield? Is it? Where's that at?
I have no idea, but I've got no interest in that fixture.
Well, I'll go Huddersfield by 10 in that one.
It's not on TV, I know
There you go. So
The Willie Bossing derby.
there's the predictions for you. And get on.
Scotty wouldn't have been right because he's not an official media person. Me and Mark are very excited that we've got our Irish accreditation.
Oh, yeah, it came through.
Yeah.
We're in.
Where's mine?
Well, we'll think about that now.
Phil,
Well, you know, I haven't been rude, right? You know, in the email came
Yeah.
went decision. I
Yeah.
thought,
Oh no.
oh no,
The roulette
oh
wheel,
no,
yeah,
here we go.
Appeal.
Yeah, and it was like, oh, it's been passed. I thought, oh, they don't watch the show. We're all right.
Well, as Phil is the most senior member of our team in terms of he's actually any good at his job, like in the media.
Yeah, that's a fair point. He's our
I
marketing
think, I
man.
think a fair few would disagree with
Were you
that.
invited to the Huddersfield Media Day?
No.
Well done, Huddersfield Giants, by the way. In a sport in which should I come out and say yeah? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yes.
Robert Elson comes up the other week and says, you know, we've got to be more up, we've got to make the players more available to people, whatever. And a club don't invite everyone to.
Need to sell our personalities.
And a club that doesn't get big crowds.
So now when you've got the chance to put, you've only got the space to put Club A or Club B in. Club A go out of their way to
Help.
put people up for interview.
Yeah.
Club B don't.
Yeah.
Which club are you going to go to?
Exactly.
Because-
Oh, by the way, as well, old Mike's moved, hasn't he, from Saints?
St. Helens, yeah,
yes,
sorry, yeah.
yes.
Good luck to him in his new career.
Mike,
Thank
He'll
you
be a
for,
loss.
thank
Like
you for all your help.
I thought he was going to kill me when he
Thank
interviewed Kieran
Well, that's
Cunningham
my
that time, but he never said anything. He let it go. What a
When you
guy.
got Kieran in the sack.
Yeah.
I got a
Well, I
20
didn't, did I really?
I got a 20-minute programme out of the way.
Well, I think the fact that he couldn't beat Huddersfield had about 18 players missing injured at home, somewhat.
And they didn't play attractive rugby league football again.
Oh. Dire.
Yeah, now we can make TV programmes. The world is our oyster this year.
It is.
Just keep your eye out on YouTube. We can be bothered. But,
Get your tips coming in.
Yeah.
What are you thinking? Who do you
Any
think's going to win?
any ideas of things you want us to do this year?
Yeah.
You know, 'cause-
As long as it isn't a naked calendar.
Yeah, we're not doing
Yeah.
that. Not fish and chips again. We've done that now.
I wouldn't mind having another go at it.
Well,
I'm a
Alan,
bit
Alan
hungry,
and Sue did say there's going to be massive portions of humble pie here in October. Bring on.
actually. Who do they support?
I don't know.
If anybody from the Wetherby Whalers listen out there, we'd be delighted to go to Wetherby Whaler,
Do you know
won't we? There's plenty of
You
plenty
can go
of them
slow.
out
It's about 10
Huh?
hours.
there. No, we'll do the Wetherby Whaler challenge, eh?
Yeah, but you have to pay for it there. They don't do it for free.
We'll sort it out. We'll sort it out.
Well, you sort it out. You're a man with
We'll
connections.
sort it out. There's one in Pudsey, isn't there? We'll go to the Pudsey one. Do
They're
a show
everywhere.
from Pudsey.
It's one in my village now.
Is
yeah,
it?
Yeah,
Is it?
Yeah. Yeah, the Empire's Wetherby Whaler now.
Oh, is it?
Oh, yeah. That's
Oh, it's bought that, isn't it?
straight after the show.
I knew the other who had the Empire. Yeah, Steve Perley. Yeah,
Look at that. Scully's tour of fish and chip restaurant.
yeah.
Coming to a chip shop near
Yeah.
We tell you to...
you. A legendary fish and chips.
So is that Wetherby Whaler now then?
Yeah.
I never said Steve.
Bits
Is Jai still looking for the best chip shop in Castle? I guess he's in Bradford.
I don't know.
Bradford now.
Anyway, never mind that. I need to launch a public appeal. Will
Right.
everyone
Oh,
please go to Mount Pleasant on Sunday.
Yeah.
Oh,
Please.
yes.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes.
get in a capacity crowd and watch Aaron Bauer sweat.
I'm working.
Who do you fancy then to win? Who do you fancy that for that one?
I don't know. Yeah, I actually think the Bulls are going to make the playoffs in the championship.
Do you?
I'm convinced of it.
I think we haven't spoken about the championship yet because obviously the focus is on the kick-off of Super League. But I think we're going to have a much more competitive championship this year throughout than we had last year. I think there was excitement at either end of it. Obviously, not so much excitement if you were in the trying to avoid relegation, but there were evenly matched games in a division of two halves. But the two didn't really ever come together. I think this year you've got Widnes coming down, who, because they have a very young side, I think will be a bit of a threat. You've got Bradford and York coming up, who are bringing a quality threshold with them. And you've got recruitment of the likes of Swinton and Rochdale and Sheffield that I think brings them up to the fact that I genuinely don't know who is going to finish where in the championship. I think there are some obvious favourites.
Well, I mean, just
but you talk about Bradford making the five. I think that five's up for grabs.
I just looked at the betting now. And Toronto are the favourites 6-4. But you're thinking there's a lot of question marks over Toronto at the moment. So do you look?
Is that favourite to finish top or
to
get
win
promoted?
To win the grand final?
Yeah,
So
that's another dynamic.
Featherstone, you've got to be concerned that their coach isn't here yet. I don't think. And I know they say it was a reserve sign who lost to Hunslet Parkside, but they still lost to an amateur team.
Community.
He gets
Yeah,
here
it's
tomorrow.
sorry.
Amateur.
He's here tomorrow morning, the new coach, isn't he?
Is he? Well, they should get the mascot to pick him up like Batley did. That's why Batley should win this game on Sunday. You see that video when the dog picked up the player from the airport? That was brilliant. Well done to the Wakefield fans booing Rob Hicks' name being announced in the game yesterday before anything happened.
Yeah, but it's a pre-season friendly. They've got to practice as well.
Go
haven't they?
Tonic!
They've
Go
got to
forward!
practice as well.
Can you imagine? You know when it comes to two referees, what it's going to be like then? You know, the stick they're going to get. Honestly,
We're going to boo most.
Huh?
Stephen says, how about getting rid of Scully once a month? That's a bit harsh.
Once a month?
Yeah.
That's a bit harsh. I get it twice.
Get a current player on the panel. They don't say anything.
Yeah, you got to be careful. If you want honest opinion, then players aren't often allowed to say what they think.
Yeah.
You know, the off-air show's better than the on-air show
So
sometimes.
do their own They've got you can do their own podcast and Instagram and things.
And what you do find is when players do say stuff that they want to say, they actually do get into trouble for it.
No, it's James Hassan. Oh, no, it was me who got in trouble for that, wasn't it? For a player saying something. Yeah, I forgot about
That was your fault.
Yes,
For asking,
for asking a question.
That he answered.
And faithfully recording the answer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Toby says, everyone in Old Trafford, let's get a boo for the referee. That was a great moment of last season, wasn't it, Toby? So I very rarely name people in our industry who have annoyed me. That annoyed me last year. Because if I wanted to do that, then we'd be here all night, and I would be blackballed by the RFL.
Yeah, you feel unburden yourself. Get on with it.
No, I don't.
Are you sure?
Yeah, they know.
Well,
They
it's
know.
cathartic.
They can't see anyone on Facebook. They know.
If you'd behind that big thing on the end,
They
I
can
don't
read
mean
between the
Scully,
lines.
no one would even know you were here. You could just like start shouting
I
out
could
random
have sat
abuse.
in that
Yeah.
and done the show
What-
from within it.
What that is what we should have more of in terms of, we said it at the time, we were at the Women's Challenge Cup final last year, and that trophy was pathetic. And they should have something like that, because that is it's a beautiful work of art that's not here. No, that's a bit weird.
Careful, because the lid comes off.
The lid does
It's unusual.
I lifted
That's a really unusual
I
feeling.
lifted the Yorkshire Cup 4 times, I think. There you go.
If you look at the names on that trophy and the history and
It's a lovely looking trophy, isn't it?
H. Wagstaff, first name. Harold Wagstaff, one of the absolute
He's on it a
icons
few
of the
times.
sport.
Albert Goldthorpe,
Done it
Neil
there as well,
Fox,
isn't
all those
Yeah.
Leeds greats on there as well. If you don't know what it is, viewer, it's the
Beautiful. So what trophy is it, Phil?
it's the Yorkshire League trophy.
There's no trophy here.
If it was, it would be
It's
the
a
Yorkshire
green
League trophy.
screen.
Yeah.
But if there was this
Yeah.
trophy, it would be
Hold on, what is
the
it? What
Yorkshire
trophy is
League,
it?
the Yorkshire League Championship.
Is that what it is? Right, okay. And who were the last winners of it then?
Leeds
always
69-70.
69. Who was the captain
Barry
of Pickett?
Seaborn.
Barry Seaborn. He was a quality halfback as well, was it? So a halfback with Barry Seaborn would have been Shuey.
Sure.
Mick Shoebottom.
69-70.
How good a player was he? Unsick lad. He didn't mind getting ripped
Both
in,
were
did he?
Hunslet
Yeah,
lads.
he didn't mind getting ripped in, did he, old Shuey?
That was the Leeds thing. They had
Brilliant.
7 Hunslet players in it. The
Well,
backbone
you
of
always
that team
you always
was
had
Hunslet.
you always had to
Oh,
come-
Joe Reg.
you always had to come across the river. You always had to come across. Always had to come across the river, get the talent. You know that, didn't you? Eh?
Leeds City 13.
But
There we go.
going back to the women's game and the appropriate silverware, I think one of the, is it too harsh to call it derelictions of duty at the moment, is the fact that we don't know what's happening with the women's game. But again, I looked at that netball on the back of the building profile they've got of the club game and the international game. And nothing at the moment is higher profile than women's sport. Nothing can get you corporate partners quicker than women's sport. Nothing can get you television coverage more than women's sport. The women's sport that we've got is of a really high standard. We haven't even got the fixtures.
They're coming soon.
When are they due out?
They're coming soon.
Did you say last week they were due out this week?
No, was it February? I got
We've said this for the last 12 months, and no one listens to us. No one believes
No one
us.
listens.
No
Don't
one
matter.
listens to us.
Uh,
But
you-
look at the
I
launch,
would
the
listen to
launch, launch in York.
Any danger of us going at what?
Well,
Oh,
the
it's
8, sorry.
it's 8 o'clock.
Oh, is
we've,
it?
got, we've got to go now. We've got to go.
Right.
We've got to go down to the silversmiths and make something down. Shuts at 8:10. Right, that is it. Thanks to Richard, thanks to Phil, thanks to Scoey, thanks to everyone else as well who's been involved this evening. And thank you to you. Download the podcast at all the usual places. We'll see you again next week.